The words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it's in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. All right, welcome. Come on in, everybody. Hello. Shalom, peace. Lava'ai shalom. Bakwatav. Kofi, head of Servants of Christ. Shalom. Hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor of Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Thank you for being on with us today. I apologize for not being on yesterday evening. My wife had a little bit of food poisoning, it looks like. She's doing much better, but needed to make sure that I was in position to take care of her and her needs. So those of you who if I was supposed to reach out to you yesterday or anything like that, we'll try to get out to you today. Thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate you. I will not be on this evening, at least not for a regular live. Who knows if we'll do something else. But I appreciate you guys for being on, and thank you so much. Please check out Minister Tamara this evening, Tamara_Ya9. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming on with us. Hello, how you doing, Juanetta, Laura, Sister Dacia, or Lori, excuse me, I said Laura. Sister Monica Q. Not sure if I'm saying that right. K or Q. Lucas, Truth, Bray Melanin, all right. Mystical Monique. Did I say Trini already? Hello, Insomniac. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Mrs. Tamila. Is it Tamilam or Tamila MH? I'm not sure. Forgive me for mispronouncing. More than likely I did. How you doing, Brother Allen? How you doing, Darius? So today I want to make up, even though we didn't have a chance to be on with you yesterday, do want to make up for you guys the internal purity. We were going to talk about purity last night. And since I wasn't on, we didn't talk about it, but let's go ahead and talk about it today before it becomes something that just kind of gets forgotten over the next couple of days. How you doing, DB? So we're going to talk about internal purity. And once again, we give all praise and honor to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we thank you guys for being on with us. We appreciate you. How you doing, Minister Sharon? I'm going to try and reach out to you, but I'd like to give you a heads up if you can. Minister Sharon, if you're available on Friday evening, I would like for you and a few of our sisters, especially the ministerial staff, to come on TikTok and talk about something. I don't know if you got time or not. I don't know what your schedule's looking like. I know you're pretty busy. And I know you're somewhat trying to get stuff, you got your own stuff going, but if you can kind of think about it for me, I'm going to try and reach out at some point, maybe today. But just kind of put a heads up, put a bug in your ear, if you will. How you doing, MIT Stephen? This is Gertrude, Queen Sheila, everybody. Thanks for being on. So, hallelujah, we are going to speak specifically today on internal purity. People were asking about purity and purification and what if I'm in a relationship. Schedule's wide open. Excellent. Okay, cool. Yeah, hopefully there'll be at least 4 of your sisters on. I'll be on, but I'll probably just be managing more so than talking. Praise ya. And I'll get you the we're basically going to be trying to talk about some things regarding how to become prepared for marriage as far as being okay with being single. I don't know how we're going to speak on that or what we're going to utilize in that as far as the theme per se, but it'll be something along that area, just to let you know. And also I need to call you because it's been a long time. Just want to say hello to my big sis, make sure everything's all right. But yeah, so today, how you doing, guys? Lantern, thanks for being part of the community. So today we're talking about internal purity. Internal purity. How you doing, MIT Jenny? Internal purity. How you doing, Brother Ali? And when we talk about internal purity, people were asking about purification. And one of the things we don't discuss that often when it comes to purity or purification, internal purity, etc., is, one of the things we don't talk about purity is that it must start on the inside. How you doing, Miss Pierce? So we're going to be focusing mainly on our sweet spot on the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 5, in Matthew chapter 5, let me make sure I have the correct verse. I think it's like verse 7, maybe verse 8, where it says that blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Right, let's double check to make sure we got the right verse. Matthew chapter 5, verse 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Right? And we're going to kind of bounce around Matthew chapter 5 a bit, the Beatitudes. But it's important that we catch that, right? That blessed are the pure in heart. Now, the word heart there in Hebrew, once again, is lab. In modern Hebrew, they would say lev. How you doing, Sister Sherry? So the lab, blessed are the pure in heart. Now, heart is talking about your passion, right? If I'm passionate about something, right, that's something that's an internal thing. And a lot of times we talk about a lot of different things that we're dealing with, but we don't talk about the internal. So it becomes difficult to speak on a lot of this stuff when we're not dealing in the internal, right? Blessed are the pure in heart. That's an internal place, right? How you doing, Desiree? Desire. Sorry, excuse me. Right? If I'm not pure on the inside, it's going to be hard for me to show purity on the outside. And we have the context mixed up and messed up because we usually reverse it, right? How you doing, Doc? Or is it Doca? Doc? I'm not sure, right? So blessed. So we usually have this thing reversed. We try to be pure as far as what are we wearing, right? What do we speak? What is it that we? How is it that we live, etc. Right? And that's all true. Like we should look at those things, but it starts with an internal purity. We want a pure relationship. We want pure marriages. We want pureness in the way that we conduct business, purity in the way that people look at us and respect us, etc. But we don't think about this all is going to be a reflection or a manifestation on the outside of what that which is inside. You have an evil pickle, okay? You hello, how you doing? You can ask whatever question you like. As we ask the people be, of course, treat each other as human beings, and that we say hello to people and stuff like that, and we there's certain things we can't abide by depending on what age group is watching this stuff and everything. But yeah, you can feel free to ask a question. Hopefully it's an actual question. But you can feel anybody can ask a question, right? But we have a problem when we're trying to be pure, so to speak, on the outside, but we don't have a pureness on the inside. How you doing, Mr. Biscuits? Right? There's a reality that's missing, right? There's a reality that's missing and everybody's talking about the pureness on the outside as far as the manifestation. How you doing, Money Green? We want pureness as far as scientific results. We want pureness as far as canonical viewpoint, whether it's biblical, whether it's the Quran, whether it's a scroll from the Buddha, whether it's pure voting, so we can see what's going on in your Republican or Democrat ways, whatever the case is. But nobody talks about the internal purity, right? How you doing, Brother Jermaine? Here's one of the things that's very interesting, right? A lot of people will talk about purity, right? And the pure process in Congress and America and yada, yada, yada. Nobody talks about what's happening in the home, right? Like you would think before we're talking about Congress, we would talk about what happens in the home and how what's in the home affects the state and what happens in the state affects the federal, corporation, and the federal corporation therefore reacting. But instead, what we want is, hey, federal corporation, United States government, this, that, whatever, Republican, Democrat, governors, mayors, Congress people, please make legislation that makes it easier for my home, rather than saying I need something in my home that makes it that makes it to where your legislation, yeah, whatever, but it doesn't really matter to me because we're building communities from the inside out rather than from the outside in, right? Same thing that's happening in, with stuff as far as Hollywood, as far as stuff with the writers' strike, things like that. Thanks for the love, appreciate it. How you doing, Albert? Right, same stuff that's happening with the writers' strike and things like that. How is it that everybody's looking at all these different things and nobody's looking at like, hey, one of the reasons why this stuff is not doing so well is because, like, one of the reasons why Hollywood streaming services, whatever, are having all these issues is due to the fact that Hollywood, has been something that we are using to say influence my home, right? And it's getting to a place to where people are saying Hollywood's not the place to influence my home. We need to reverse it. How you doing, Sister Knight? Right? And if we would begin to reverse this mindset and have the proper concept, see, our idea is messed up because our precept, our environment is messed up. So we have been poor in spirit, Matthew 5:3, not realizing that it affects our heart, Matthew 5:8. How you doing, Minister Moselle? Right? I'm gonna say that again. We have been poor in spirit, Matthew chapter 5:3, and have not worried about the kingdom that should belong to those that are poor in spirit, or mindset change, or philosophy change, or a paradigm shift. Right? We've been poor in spirit for a really long time, and not thinking about how that affects us. Right? So Matthew 5:3 is telling us, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." We're not even looking at the kingdom of heaven that needs to be introduced, right? You're not going to change anything as far as the heart is concerned if you're not going to have um, a cultural relevance, a mindset change. It's not going to happen. Not as much as we might want it to. It is not going to take place. You can want it all day. You can crave it all day. You can ask for it all day. How you doing, Spike Me? How you doing, Just Banks? You can try to do this stuff, but if there's no paradigm shift, how you doing, Be Little? Thanks for being on. If there's no paradigm shift, then we have a problem. How you doing, Sister Deborah? And so nobody is talking about the shift of thought. What must take place to make sure that these things happen correctly? So here we are saying, we want, like, what's a big one? One we talk about all the time, critical race theory. Teach our children, teach our children, teach our children. How you doing, Royal? Shalom. Teach our children, teach our babies, teach our children, teach our babies. But it's not the government's responsibility to teach your babies, right? We can argue all day long, is the government going to teach our babies correctly? The reality is it's not their responsibility to, it's yours. How you doing, Takwa? Right? It's not their responsibility, right? And we have this thing in reverse, internal purity. Give us reparations. Give us reparations. You have to begin to have a reparation within your own community. See, so we're asking for something, and everybody's always talking about the purity. And one of the things that's hard to deal with, if we just be honest, is that the purification process, it has to start on the inside. We are going to be impure until we start to get what's right on the inside. Yehoshua said that many people are like whitewashed tombs. Right? They look great on the outside. When you go to visit a grave site, trigger warning, I apologize, right? If you go to visit a grave site, when you go to see the grave site, it might look great. You might set flowers on it. Maybe the people who keep the grounds up, they keep flowers on them. The grass can be trimmed. The streets and the sidewalks and whatever else is there might look immaculate. But on the inside, there's still a dead body. Matter of fact, it's not even a dead body. It's at some point the body begins to break down, and at some point now we're not even dealing with the body outside of the bones, the hair, the nails, right? And I apologize once again, trigger warning. I apologize for that. But what happens is that we see this lifeless body, and the reason why we have this lifeless body is because there's no soul and there's no spirit. Once the soul and the spirit is going to be absent from the body, is to be present with the dawn. How you doing, Sister Patricia? And so if I'm absent from the body and therefore present with the dawn, present with the Lord, then I have to recognize and realize that, or that therefore whatever is supposed to manifest in the body will no longer manifest, right? And the same thing happens in our everyday life. We're looking for things to change, and we're not absent, or we're not realizing that a lot of people are absent from the body. They're absent, like the spirit, the soul, the psychology. Remember, soul in the Greek, it even means the word, it's spelled the same way you would spell psyche, or though they would pronounce it psyche, you would pronounce it psyche, Psyche. So the psyche is absent from the body. We're asking for change, but there's no psychology. And if there is psychology, it's a psychology that is um, DOA. It's a psychology that is not causing life. That's why Yehoshua said that the enemy's psychology is to steal, to kill, and destroy. But he came that you might have life and more abundantly. You see, you can be alive and have no life. Right now, we talked about those things before, but trying to, set a foundation. How you doing, Cream? Trying to set a foundation for you because many of us are holding on to things that don't make sense. On the inside, there needs to be a change. That's to be a part of community voting. On the inside, there needs to be a change. External things to happen, but there has to be purity. On the inside, something has to change, right? The police are not going to change your community, nor, once again, is it their responsibility to. I'm not looking for a police officer who's paid to represent the state to make sure that now they have my best interest at heart. No offense to the police. I don't believe that um, you know, that every police officer is bad. That ACAB thing. I don't believe that. But at the same time, if you're part of a what we call it, a part of an organization, part of a system in which these things, happen, and you are supposed to support people and be anti a certain people, if that's the government you support and you come from the state patrolman, including even look at how your badges look exactly like those things, then after a while I have to realize that you are not going to try to do anything to change my community, not because you don't even want to, it's because that's not your job description, right? An internal thing must happen before an external thing. If you have police that are crawling all over the place in Chicago, in Southside Chicago, and no change is taking place in the police officer, is not somebody who I'm assuming is going to change anything because they're already there, but there's no change. And if there is change, it's negative change because that's what everybody focuses on anyways. So if you're just giving me negative change anyways, no matter what, then I have to realize that you're not going to cause positive change. So a positive change is not going to come from the inside. We got to start thinking about where does it happen from the, or I'm sorry, if it hasn't happened from the outside, we got to start figuring this out from the inside, right? If people are giving you fake food all the time. Thanks for being part of community, Willie M. If people are giving us fake food all the time at the store, then at some point I got to think, should I grow real food? How you doing, Ryan? Right? Like my wife, we went out, we got what we thought was real food. As soon as we got the real food, there's stuff up in it, right? So and now causes sickness. So so we have to heal ourselves, and we have to basically go to stuff that we already had to be able to fix what's going on. How you doing, Henry? And this is really what must take place: is what do you already have inside you, right? 2 Kings chapter 4. What's in your house? Constantly and consistently, what's in your house? Moses, what do you have on you? You got a staff, right? You have a staff. Okay, you have your own hand. All right, let's deal. Excuse me. Let's deal with that. Moses, what do you have on you? Stretch your staff out over the water, right? A lot of times, what you have, 2 Kings chapter 4. What do you have? I don't have anything. Oh, you know what? I do have this pot of oil, this vat of oil. All right, let's see what you have, and let's deal with multiplication on the inside. What do you have? I have a seed. What if I implant that seed in an egg? I get a whole child, maybe two, maybe three, maybe four, right, etc. Hey, what do I have on the inside that's going to cause something on the outside? This is an eternal principle. This is a natural law. This is kingdom law. This is maritime law. How all these laws work, they're based off of something that you already have, right? And what you've done is you've gotten into like a legal system versus a lawful system. And so the world's legal stuff is not lawful, right? Everything that's not legal is not lawful. Everything that's lawful is not legal. You've gotten into this position where you keep looking for somebody to legally do something to purify what's on the inside. So if we can go to more to what we were focusing on yesterday and what we were supposed to focus on, or what we were supposed to focus on last night, people were asking about purity and how do I make sure that I begin to become pure if I've been divorced or something like that, or I've lost a relationship, or something that was somebody that was really close to me is gone, and I don't feel the same, or I'm trying to come back. I'm trying to, matter of fact, salvage myself. That's what the word salvation means, literally, to become a person, place, or thing that is reached its original intent. And as we talked about yesterday, a lot of people have never even reached their original intent. Right. A lot of people have never even seen themselves at what their actual peak is because you've heard so many other people telling you what you're supposed to be. How you doing, Prince? How you doing? Thanks for being part of the community. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Yake? Yaque? Sorry for mispronouncing. How you doing, Black Steel? So these are the things that we should talk about and should be relevant and should be part of our natural conversation. Um, what does purity look like on the inside, not on the outside? Right? Before we talk about what your dress looks like, before we had this conversation that if you wear this, that you're, and we start slut shaming people because of what they wear, or whether we think that it's cool to show this or it's not cool to show this, especially if we talk about based off of somebody's culture. How you doing, Brother Charles? What are the things that we should make sure that we actually do? Right? Like, what are the things that we should actually make sure that we actually are doing on the inside? Right? I can't tell you how many women I've talked about. You said Biden. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. And before somebody needed to save us from the pandemic, I was already fine. But I'm a private citizen, so I don't worry about some of that stuff. But if that's what you feel, that's what you feel. No problem. You know, but that's something that we have to get to is um, what do we feel like on the inside? I can't tell you how many people I've talked to and how many sisters I've talked to, and then tell me they get married, and they got married because they were hoping that once they got married, or they said, "Hey, at least somebody loves me," because they didn't have any love for themselves. Like I've talked to a lot of sisters who've told me that, like, you listen to them, you listen to their, with their experiences with their ex-husband or ex-husbands, um, and you start realizing they have all the stuff to offer and this and that, but they look at themselves as like they look down on themselves, and you say, well, why would you even get with such a person? In your mind you're saying that, and then they eventually, while you're asking that question to yourself, you hear them say, well, that's not our, that's I thought that I would be, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, like I said, at least somebody loved me. They felt like nobody had love for them. They felt like nobody had a mind to think of them as positive. They didn't think of themselves as positively, so they got with somebody just because they thought that somebody having a ring on their finger would give them some kind of relevance. So oftentimes I say that that's not the only thing. We could talk about men who are thinking that they'll become better. I'm somebody who personally at one point in my life thought that marriage within itself made me a better man, because I was being a husband, I was going to be a father, etc. How you doing, Sister Shima? There's a lot of people who have different reasons that they've been, you know, we have a lot of people who, for different reasons, have gotten married, and a lot of times it's not necessarily for righteous reasons, right? Because just because you write about something doesn't mean it's righteous, right? Righteous means right, lawful standing. So but there's a lot of people who make a lot of moves and never once think to themselves, why am I making these moves, or what's the point of it, or does Yah actually get any glory from it, or just is this based on something that's for me, or is it just something that I'm doing because society says? Many people have had grandchildren or have had children because their mothers and their fathers were like, when are you going to give me grandchildren? And while we should obviously multiply, right? Be fruitful and multiply, replenish and subdue. At the same time, we shouldn't be trying to get in relationships with people just because we're trying to appease somebody else. How you doing, Prince Nasheen? You know, so there's a lot of stuff that's in there. Once again, then that's to start from internal purity place. So if I were to ask you, let me just ask a question. You don't have to answer it. It's a personal question, but I'll ask it, and hopefully you guys are all right with me asking this question. How you doing, Uma? Thanks for being part of the community. One of the questions I would ask you is, why do you like? What about you is pure? That's a deep question. You know why it's a deep question? Because many people have never thought about it. They say, I like this about myself, or I give this. What about you is pure? And see, this is when we have to have a question, further conversation, because what is the definition of purity? As far as our culture definition, a working definition, what is this? It's like when I say, what does love mean? If I ask 100 people what is love, I might get 100 different responses. Okay, somebody said their heart. Amen. Right? You see, like we don't even think about ourselves like that. What about me is pure? Right? What about me is pure? How you doing, Sister Nadine? What about me is pure? Said my will to please the Father. Okay, great. You see? Like, so what about me is pure? Right? So here's a working definition real quick. Let's think about it like this. When the Bible says that you must be tempted and you'll be pure gold, right? Tempted. To tempt gold means to purify it. You said your uniqueness is pure. You were always purely you. That's what everybody says, and I'm not coming against you, but once again, everybody says that they're purely you. But is that can we honestly say that everybody is purely themselves? For example, just and like I said, not coming at anybody specifically, all right? Just conversing. If I say that everybody's pure, is every child that goes to school pure? See, and trigger warning now, this is just for educational purposes only, because people are gonna be like, my child is pure and this and that. I get you. I get you. Right? How you doing, Iron Grid? I'm not saying that your child is not innocent in a way, right? But in your mind, you think pure is like everybody's pure because you think pure, but you think pure is like a way of saying I look at them in a nice way. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy that never give up. My resilience, perseverance is pure. See, watch this. Watch this. Your child goes to school, right? And how you doing, user 328100087, etc. Thanks for being on. How you doing, KJ? Your child goes to school, right? If your child does, let's just assume you have a child that's going to school. You send this child, because I homeschool. I know quite a few of you homeschool. Matter of fact, as a reminder, Solomon's Kung Fu Club, for those that want to be part of that, that's going to be on today as well at 2:00 p.m. Eastern New York time. So if you want to join us, feel free to join us at 2 p.m. And I think you guys will enjoy it, doing some Kung Fu together. But when you say my child is pure, right? Somebody says original. Well, if we can get it back to its original form. Watch this. Your child goes to school. Your child has to take a test. On the test, you're being tested on who the presidents are, right? They have on the test. They say, who is the first president? What is the school's answer? What is it that the school requires? Who is the first president of the United States? What is it? What is it going to say on paper? What do they want your child to write? Right? What do they want your child to write down? What is the answer? I'm not saying what is the real answer. I'm saying what is the child supposed to answer? How you doing, Island Boy? You see, the child's answer is supposed to be George Washington. Now, this is a wrong answer. It's a falsified answer. It's a lie. And a lot of people who would even want that answer on a piece of paper know that it's a lie. Right? But what happens is the child has to write something. How you doing, MIT Tracy? The child has to write something that's a lie in order to pass the test. So although I would say the child might be ignorant, all right, and their intentions might be righteous. Maybe you might even say their intentions are pure, because who knows why that child is taking the test? Are they taking the test just to say, I want the teacher to shut up? Are they taking the test because they believe everything in the system is right? Are they taking the test because they want to get better answers than everybody else? And when they get 100 and everybody else gets a 75, they can say, I'm the smart one. You see what I'm saying? Like, we have this thing where we just automatically say pure. But in all this stuff, we can see that if they have to write George Washington on a piece of paper, no matter what their intent is, no matter what their effort is, no matter what their mindset is, it ends up being impure. How you doing, Teflon? You see? So you see what I'm saying? So when I talk about internal purity, there has to be something to where we start saying there's a lot of dirt, garbage, um, untruths, things that are uncouth, etc., that have been attached. See, gold is not impure. Watch this. You have to, if you're going to tempt gold to make it pure, you're not tempting the gold due to the fact that the gold is not gold. It is not the gold's fault that the gold, you know, grew up, so to speak, in the dirt. It's not the gold's fault that maybe there was toxic stuff that's on it. It's not the gold's fault that it might have been stolen. It's not the gold's fault that it's not in its original place. It might have been on the Gold Coast and now it's in Great Britain. It's not the gold's fault, but it's still not pure. How you doing, Kojo? Thanks for being on. Right? You see, how you doing? Reach a new star. Thanks for being part of the community. So a lot of people have this misconception about, yeah, these things have infiltrated it, whether the gold wanted it or not. Matter of fact, we would say that the gold does not have a mind to know what's going to happen to it, but still the gold can be labeled as pure or impure. Somebody or something must shape it. So now we have to figure out what's shaping this gold, what's tempting this gold, or what's just basically dirtying this gold. See, so when I talk about pure and pureness of heart, once again, heart in this context, culturally speaking, is talking about the love, or talking about the passion. It can double for your physical heart, and it can also double for your passion. So I can intend to search for the unsearchable riches of the Most High and still be cluttered with a bunch of stuff. Matter of fact, how many people went to church and realized in your church walk that there's a lot of impurity in there? How many of you been to camps and realized in your camp walk there's a lot of impurities? How many of you have ate food and realized in your food walk there's a lot of impurities? You see, how you doing, Nicole? You see what I'm saying? So in these impurities, in this stuff that's on there, we have to realize and recognize very quickly that just because these things are there, just because we partake in something, it doesn't mean we're partaking. See, watch this. If I eat something innocently, if I think that I've eaten an apple and don't realize that, and I am not aware that the apple carries wax, then I'm eating something impure. And I'm not trying to say it doesn't matter what your intent is, but if you are not getting something that's pure, it's going to be bad. Watch this. For those of you who believe in the Bible, whatever, read your Bible, it'll bless you, right? In your Bible, it tells you in matter of fact, let me double check the scripture. Let me give you the exact scripture that everybody loves to use. Let me see. Revelation, right? Hold on one second. I'm going to go to Revelation 21:21. Right? Hold on one second. Okay. So just want to show you this, right? So there's this thing where people say the streets are paved with gold. We get that from Revelation 21:21, where it says, and the 12 gates were 12 pearls, and several gate was one of pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, and it was transparent glass. It was as transparent, and it were transparent glass, right? So this thing is pure. You can look through it, right? It has nothing in it to the point to where you can literally look through what you're standing on, right? Hey, how you doing, brother Richie? How you doing, sis Maxine? Right. So this street is pure, right? But the saying the streets are paved with gold, right, is when people are talking about this. When people say the streets are paved with gold, that comes from a position or a place where people are talking about how it's made. And the mindset of that is that if the streets are paved with gold, and not only does it mean the streets are pure gold, but what created the streets is made out of the street itself. I don't know if you caught that. How you doing, Tahiti? If the streets are paved with gold, and how you doing, Sister Monica? Right? Thanks for the love. If the streets are paved with gold, that's what people like to say, right? How you doing, Julie? Well, what the mindset of that is that what the street is also what the street is made with, right? The tools used to make the street are also what the street is made out of. In other words, we're purely using gold, right? Gold, pearls, 12 precious stones. And we see this where even the 12 precious stones that make up a wall that you can see through, and even the foundation, it's all see through, it's pure. And it's saying that whatever Yah's going to use, it's got to be pure. Now people don't even get this when it talks about the 12 gates, and it's talking about the pearly gates. I don't think people recognize that a pearl is something that people like, and especially if you get like a really big one or something like that, you're looking for a pearl that is, pure. But watch this: the pearl has to be formed, right? Depending now, right? Because there's different types of pearls. I get that, but the pearl has to be formed. Let's say we're dealing with an oyster. The pearl is actually formed from a condition the oyster has on the inside, right? The pearl has to be formed from a condition that's on the inside, right? On the inside, something's going on the oyster, and after a while, it has this pearl that forms, right? And the pearl is formed, and what we like to do then is open up the oyster, right, and see what's going on. Yeah, see, there's an irritant. There's some. It's not as simple as what we think. Just open up an oyster and there's a pearl. It takes time, and it takes a while, and the oyster is actually going through some things to develop a pearl. It has to learn how to go through some things to be able to get this thing that you and I would just wear on our neck, right? It takes some time. You see, it's not just a random occurrence. It's not just something random. A pearl takes a little while to be made, and they don't all, as much as people think, they don't all look like little balls. Either somebody shapes them like that, or somebody goes through an extreme process of choosing what pearl that they want, right? But the pearl is not just something that happens overnight, right? Not a real pearl. A real pearl takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy, and it takes something. It takes a creature going through a lot of anguish and pain. So when it talks about there's 12 pearly gates and it talks about the size of them, you must recognize that the pain, the anguish, and things that the Most High has to go through himself, that Yahshua had to go through himself, right? That you might have to go through yourself. It starts doing something, but these pearls are developed for people who have done some development on the inside, right? I'm gonna just read something real quick. So, how are pearls made in saltwater oysters? A saltwater pearl is made by inserting a mother of pearl bead nucleus, most often made from pigtail clam shell from a USA river, along with a tiny piece of mantle tissue, living um, epithelial cells from another oyster into the oyster. This mantle tissue forms a pearl sac. Around the bead, the oyster then coats the bead with, I don't know how to pronounce this, is nacre, Nacre, which is the pearly substance. Right? How are pearls made in freshwater mussels? A freshwater pearl is made in a similar way, but the mother of pearl bead nucleus is eliminated. Freshwater mussels will make a pearl when only a tiny piece of mantle tissue is inserted inside. When multiple pieces of mantle tissue are inserted, multiple pearls are formed. One reason freshwater pearls are usually a lower price, um, one mussel can create more than one pearl. Right? Here is a more detailed explanation. For those of you wanting to understand more thoroughly the question how are pearls made, it all starts with baby oysters, which are either artificially bred in a hatchery or allowed to spawn naturally, as in Tahiti. Baby oysters are put in cages and suspended in water, but not just any water will do. There must be an adequate food supply for the oysters, right? I'm sorry if this is boring to you guys. How you doing, Sister Barbara? Sorry if this is boring to you. Just trying to get you to comprehend and get the context of this, right? We're talking about something that's going to grow on the inside, internal purity, right? So, so it says a great combination for sea. I don't know what this is. Anyways, a great combination for sea oysters is to be in a bay which is supplied by a freshwater river which brings food along with it. But too much fresh water can endanger the oyster's life, so a delicate balance must be found. Temperature is also important. Oysters like a warm water, about 75 degrees is ideal, and sudden temperature changes can have an oyster lose its life. And if it doesn't lose its life, the quality of the pearl can be affected. To ensure the health of oysters, some pearl farmers move their oysters to warmer seas during the winter. So I won't keep going and going and going and going. I think we got the context down. Basically, this is actually talking about people who are farming pearls or farming oysters, if you will, so they can get the pearls. And so if somebody's going to do this, they have to insert something on the inside of the oyster, right? If you didn't catch that much, whether it's the oyster, whether it's the mussel, they were focusing more on the oysters at the end. They have to insert something on the inside. This is why we're talking about internal purity. How you doing, Faja woman? Thanks for being part of the community. Raheem, so now I'm saying, what did I say that's fake Jewish? Number one. Number two, listen long enough. Watch this. I'm actually by blood, my tribe or my branch, but my tribe is actually recognized even by modern Jews as having E1B1A blood. So, but I haven't even talked about any of those things. But if that's your mindset, go ahead. Right? You have a wild mindset to where you don't even know who somebody is. Right? But learn of people next time. But thank you. You've been muted already. But thank you for being on. Somebody already muted you. Thank you to the moderators. Appreciate you. How you doing, Dice Apple? How you doing, Pearl Pop? How you doing, MIT Jelani? You said there's usually one set of people have an insatiable appetite to consume and alter. Yeah, I hear you. Right? Yeah, purity is something, and we're talking about today internal purity. That was the point of that's the point of what we're talking about today. Somebody came on, oh, you're a fake Jew and blah blah, this and that or whatever. It's like you don't even know what a Sephardic Jew is. If you knew what a Sephardic Jew is, you would stop saying that, right? But nevertheless, we listen to the same people that are over Hollywood and the same people that are over your government and the same people that are over chattel slavery, and we listen to them as if they're the people that were supposed to be there. And that's why I said it's got to be internal purity. See, this person is trying, and look, and I know that this is me getting off subject a little bit, but they're helping us. I love it when people come on, and even if they don't realize it, they're actually helping us to get to where we're going, right? If you come on and you make an assumption about me, and the assumption is based off of what somebody showed you, that's not us, then you should start thinking about that, right? How you doing, Short Circuit? Yeah, I get you. You see, like a lot of people don't recognize, like we said earlier. See, remember I was saying purity, and we just go, our children are pure. But what I'm trying to get at is if your child has to go to a school and they have them take a test, and they say if the test is on the presidents, and they say who's the first president of the United States, and your answer has to be, and if you're going to get an A, or if you're going to get at least be correct for that answer, your answer has to be George Washington. And we know that George Washington is not the first president of the United States. That we have to realize that you are living in a society that tests you on an IQ test, right? Your IQ test even come from a place of fallacy, right? And it is lunacy for us to consider ourselves as people that have to keep going down that road. How you doing, Sister Latoya? And we don't want to be honest about that. That there's a lot of stuff that we're carrying that is not correct. It's not pure. I'm not saying that you don't have righteous intent. It's not pure. And so for that person that was on here, they have righteous intent. And how you doing, Brother Vincent? They have righteous intent. They're like, we want to stop the racism. Okay, I get it, but me actually being who I am is not racism. You know, like if you had now, it would have been interesting. Right? I wish people would come on and just say, "Hey," and this is why, and it's a weird place because people are like, "You guys always muting people, you're always blocking people, and this and that or whatever." Look, so it's all right for the person to come on and never say hello, never say how are you doing, and never even ask a question. Why do you believe this? Can you show me something we can look at? Can you give me some examples of, right? What people want is for me and others to basically like just sit here and go, okay, smash me in the face, smash me in the face, smash me in the face, tell me I'm bad. I mean, these are names that people have called me: nigger, porch monkey, uh, dummy, stupid, fake, terrible person, you don't deserve to live. I'm not telling you stuff that is kind of so. I'm telling you stuff that pops up on the live session, right? And people in the world say, and even some of our own people say, hey, why would you not listen to them? Why would I? See, we're talking about today internal purity. That doesn't even belong inside of me. And boundaries are pure or can be. And if I say I'm going to put a boundary up, or somebody in part of our community says we're going to put a boundary up, then what's wrong with that? You said who was the first president? Go look it up. There's 8 presidents before George Washington. George Washington, matter of fact, is quoted himself as saying that he had 2 presidents that were his favorite before he even became president in 1789, or if you want to look at 1791, whichever. So it's documented, right? You had presidents before. You had a constitution before. You had the constitution that was written in 1789, or depending on which one you look at, 1791. So this stuff is there, right? And I'm not gonna go really deep down that rabbit hole today. So you can go down that rabbit hole if you want. But I'm just that's some places you can look and Google possibly, or maybe go to a library, whatever you'd like to do to study. But I'm just saying that people don't even ask. You said, okay, I'm behind the learning curve, pun intended. I thought Washington. No, so he's not. Now he might be. Watch this. He might be the first president of the United States as we think of it when the Constitution was changed. He's not the first president though, right? That's not a correct statement, right? And if they want to do that, but you know why they don't teach you the fullness of that? They don't bring the whole thing out. It's because if they did, they'd have to tell you the history, or not even give you his story. They'd have to give you the story and tell you why there even is a president of the United States versus the presidents that are still part of the same group. The country didn't change. They'd have to tell you about a Moorish sultan who allows the United States of America to become the United States of America because he does business with them. You know, so they don't tell us these things. And thank you, Dorothy. Appreciate it. See, so these are things that like we don't think about, and we don't realize, and we're not articulating. See, but once again, we're talking about internal purity. People want us to be purified always from the outside in. But what happens when you start to purify from the inside out? See, this is ultimately what needs to start happening, is that your heart, blessed are the pure in heart. Your heart, your passion. See, if you're whatever you're passionate about on the inside is what's going to manifest. Out of the abundance of the heart, out of the abundance of the mouth does the mouth speak. That means that whatever's in here is going to come out of here. How you doing, Sierra? Whatever's in here is going to manifest into my jobs. See, no matter how nice you are to everybody else, right? Y'all know this. Y'all have had this happen. Y'all have seen you all have seen this happen at different points in your life. You can be very nice. Somebody can be very nice to you, very nice on the outside, doing certain things, and then one day they just yell at everybody, and you go, "Why in the world are they yelling at everybody? Why are they frustrated with everybody? Why did they all of a sudden come out and just start cursing everybody out?" It's because there was something going on the inside. And they might have been able to hide it for a long time, but that impurity on the inside came out. You can make the streets look like they're a positive place, but it's only a matter of time before somebody in is it Mississippi, Alabama, who was the brother that got taken out. And I know this is a it's like, well, which one you talking about? Who was what was the name of the guy who got taken out cold blood? They said they were chasing him down because he was looking at a house, and they chased him down or whatever and tried to say it was their responsibility. Right? Those sidewalks, a lot of people, including some of the people who you might consider to be racist, probably never thought that they would see blood spilled like that. But that stuff was. It was there. It happened. Whether people like to admit it or not, it was there. It happened. You know, what's in the heart eventually comes out, and nobody wants to have that conversation. What's in the heart is going to have to come out. People say Biden's just old and he makes all these slip ups. He's not making slip ups. Like, look at what he was saying in the 60s and the 70s. Look at who his mentor was. At some point, what's in here, it has to come out. That's not a slip up. JFK had it written in his he has it written in his journal or whatever it is, right? His diary, whatever it is that they had to release, that he said Hitler is going to be remembered as a genius one day. But you don't know about his father, Jack, and how his father, Jack, was a Hitler supporter. That's not random. That's something that's in his family's heart. They're passionate about it. Thank you for the love. How you doing, Zahara? Right? They're passionate about it. Extremely so. Out of the abundance of the heart does the mouth speak. And we keep giving people leeway. How you doing, Renaissance? So we just keep saying it's random, or we say, look, I get it. I'm somebody who can tell you. I can't say they were friends anymore, not because I think of them poorly, just because I haven't seen them in a long time. But I mean, I'm a guy who has met up with people that were KKK or former KKK. They changed their lives. I talked to them, taught them some things, just walked with them through things, and actually saw them change their lives. I'm not saying that somebody can't change, but you got to change what's on the inside first. Joe Biden is original now as he was back then. Yeah. And by the way, I don't even pay attention to it. I don't know what Biden said recently. I'm going off of stuff in my mind that he said a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, stuff like that. How you know, Minister Tamara? I'm not even I'm not even talking about what's going on now. I don't know what's going on now, if I be honest with you, because I'm not paying attention. It's not part of what I do because it doesn't help me to be internally pure. If it affects my people or if somebody asks me a question, then I research it to see what's going on. But the reality is what's going on with Biden now, it doesn't affect me. See, so I don't look for Biden to purify me. What's going on in Florida or Texas when they say our children aren't being taught CRT, it doesn't affect me because my children don't go to their schools. You said I'm not missing much. I'm just saying, right? Like, and if Trump gets voted back in, we just go on. We've been there, done that. By the way, when Trump got voted in the first time, Trump just did what Reagan did. He ran on the same exact thing. Go look at Reagan, 1980, when he ran for president, and he ran on "Make America Great Again." 36 years later, almost 40 years later, that means almost one full generation later, as far as time wise, right? 40 years is a generation as far as time is concerned. So 40 years later or 36 years later, he runs on Make America Great Again. 40 years later, he's finished being the president of the United States of America. If he comes back in, you're just going to have more of the same. It's not, you see, you got to realize instead of looking at the external, you got to start looking at the internal. If you're going to clean this up, you got to clean up what's on the inside. And many people don't want to do that work. Many people care about, so we're talking about internal purity. Many people care about what it looks on the on the outside. So you'll say somebody's pure, and this is what you'll start doing. And thank you for the love. What you'll start doing is you'll start saying, man, that person is pure. Look at the way they dress. Right? You'll say that person is pure. Look, man, they look clean in their suit. Right? You'll start saying, man, somebody is pure. Look at all that, right? And even before Matthew 15:11, right? Well, actually, it might even be part of what you're saying, right? Matthew chapter 15, when you're dealing with this stuff, Yahshua said, anything that's not planted by my Father must be plucked up by the root. And he called the religious leaders out. But a lot of you would hear me say something and even call religious leaders out, and you would say that's wrong and this and that or whatever. No, that's not wrong, as long as we're led by the Holy Spirit, first of all. Secondly, as long as it's something that we're actually doing according to the word of Yah. How you doing, Adri? Thanks for being on. Right? The Bible even declares to you, it tells you that the heart is desperately wicked. This is the problem. The inside, the passion, the love is desperately wicked. It is desperate to find that which is wicked. How you doing, JJR or JTJR 006 006? How you doing, Aswad? Praying for you as always. Right? So we're told and we're taught and we're shown that it's desperately wicked. So we're not dealing with the heart. We have a heart problem. What is the heart of Yashrael? What is the heart of our diaspora? What is the heart of the United States Corporation? What is the heart of the United States of America? What is the heart of the West? What is the heart of our brothers? What is the heart of our sisters? See, we're not looking at the heart. We're looking for everything else. See, she curses and stuff like that, and she's too masculine and blah blah. Okay, question for you: is there anything to protect her feminine heart? Nobody wants to talk about that. Internal purity. If she is feminine, like you say you want her to be, bruh, and your idea of femininity a lot of times is messed up, anyways. But if she's going to be feminine according to your comprehension and your standards, all right, question: what's going to protect her feminine heart? What culture, what culturally is going to be put in position to where she can be divine in her femininity all day, every day, and her not have to feel like she's not protected? Because a woman's number one need is to be secure. Her number two need is to feel affection. What is going to make sure that if she is feminine, like you say she's supposed to be, that her heart will be protected, that she'll be secure and she'll get affection? Security is what she needs. Watch this. Affection is what makes her prosper. Prosperity, by the way, is the ability to push through something, not just money. So security is what she needs. You hear this now? And affection is what makes her prosper or push. Right? You try to push a woman into the bedroom, and not realize that if you give her affection and she feels secure, she's gonna give you the bed. She's gonna go to the bedroom. You don't have to push her at all, right? She longs for that person who makes her feel secure and makes her feel affectionate. These are things that are simple, but we're not looking for that. We're not looking to see what can I do internally. This all starts internally. You're looking for external, only what she does in the bedroom, or if she lay down, or even if you are in a position where you deserve a wife to lay down with because you just want a girl. That's why you want girlfriends. You want a female. And some of y'all mess with little girls, whether physically underage or whether spiritually or mentally underage, right? But you're not looking for something that actually causes you to have to make sure that she feels secure and that she gets affection. For a brother, his number one need is going to be is going to be respect. His number two need, believe it or not, as far as in the flesh, of course, his number one need is going to be but we're going to be respect. Guess what his number two need is sex. Why are you always looking for sex? Well, sex, just like for you, right? For the woman, security is what's going to protect her, right? Security is going to be what like helps her as far as like protects her, but then also affection is what's going to push her. Well, for the man, respect is what's going to be what like protects him or like makes him feel all right as a man. And then guess what? Sex is what's going to be something that pushes him. And sisters know it, y'all know it, because some of you, not all of you, but some of you know it, because some of you take away sex to make sure that you get what it is that you want. Thank you, MIT Tracy. I appreciate you. Uh, you hear what I'm saying? Like a lot of this stuff, a lot of us are not, a lot of us are not even aware of this stuff, and we think of this as this, and we think it's a problem, right? You think it's a problem when your husband wants sex. Now, I think it's a problem if your husband wants sex and he hasn't given security and affection. But if he's giving security and affection, then he looks for respect. And if he looks for respect, then guess what? At some point, he's going to want sex because he's designed that way. Why? Because he is designed until, if he's healthy, he's designed until the day that he dies. I don't sound African. What does that even mean? Right? What does that even mean? I don't sound African. That's like when people say you don't sound white. It's weird. All right. But anyways, if do I have to say Aquaba at the same? Do I have to say Habarigani? Do I have to say Jambo Mimini Kofi Ninafra Kukutana the way? Do I have to say I before I make a point? I mean, do I have to talk about jollof rice in Ghana versus jollof rice in Nigeria? You see what I'm saying? People are not looking at what's on the inside. That person literally just proved it for us, right? Somebody looks on the outside and said he doesn't look African. What does that even? First of all, how do I not look African? I don't even comprehend that. That's wild. Number one, and because whether you African or even Native American or whatever, or if you're trying to say I'm African American, you got to look at the bloodline. Even as far as these things that you believe are scientific with these blood tests, they still tell you I look what you call African. How you doing, Sister Judith? In two ways, praise God. We have to get to a place. We have to get to a position where we realize what's going on with a lot of this stuff, and we have to realize that it's an internal thing. See, even somebody on the external, he doesn't look African, right? I mean, there's people that are in South Africa that some people would say, even though they're Dutch, they would try to say that they're more African than I am because they were born somewhere. But it doesn't even matter by law. It doesn't matter who or where you're from. It matters who you're from. But once again, somebody else who's external is the one that's guiding your mindset and your thought process. You see, like these people are coming on and they're proving my point. I love it. Right? I don't have to work that hard. And really, let me say it like this: they're not even proving my point; they're proving Yah's point. Yah says that you got to begin to realize that you must deal with the purity of your heart. Right? You must deal with the purity of your heart. How you doing, Nikki? You must deal with the purity on what's on the inside. If you're not working on the inside, you're not going to work on the outside. I can show you a car that looks great on the outside. I can give you a Lamborghini that's great on the outside. It can have fresh paint, all that. If you like the Lambo, I don't know if you like something else. I can show you a muscle car, whatever it is that you like. And I can show you it can be clean on the outside. I mean, the rims could be on point. It can have the doors that pop open, and don't come open, but pop open or go straight up. vertically, all that stuff. I mean, something that makes y'all go, man, this car is awesome. And then you get in and you try to put the key in the ignition and you don't even hear any clicks. And then you say, well, what's going on? Come to find out there's no engine on the inside. Right? If there's no engine on the inside, right? Who cares how it looks on the outside? I'd rather have a broke down, and I had this at one point in life. A broke down, what was it? A broke down 1996 Dodge Neon, was traveling in that even through 2003, 2004. I'd rather have a broke down, and I'm 6'5.5" too. A broke down 96 Dodge Neon. At least it was broke down on the outside, but it got me to and from. How you doing, Dennis? And see, a lot of people are broke down on the inside, but they're trying to figure out how to make sure that you look great on the outside. And it's a principle that people don't get as far as purity. See, as far as purity, internal purity. Watch this. Most people that are rich don't. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say it different than what I've said before. You said boundaries are healthy. They wouldn't listen to them. So watch it. Yeah, right. Watch this. Rich people dress like they're rich. Somebody says, "What does that mean?" Because in your head, you think that rich people dress in nice clothes all the time. Rich people usually don't dress in nice clothes until it's time to, because the nice clothes don't mean anything when it comes to how much money they make. So rich people dress like they're rich. You dress like, and take this with if the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, take it off. But most people who want to look rich, you dress in ways that are wasteful in money. How you doing? Is it Petra? I don't know if I'm saying this right. Petra Kaush. Sorry if I said that incorrectly. Thank you for being on. Right. The wealthy or the rich, they don't dress where you always see like the rich don't dress like now. Some of us who don't come from money have started to get in there, and so now you're seeing some of the rich people start to dress in these very flamboyant ways. But rich people don't dress like they're rich, or like what you think rich is, because you think richness is the clothes. Rich people save money on things, including their clothes. you know so we have a problem where you'll think that somebody will look at me and go, oh, he's not wearing what I think is rich. It's like, I've been there, done that, as far as the three-piece suits all the time, walking in the middle of the best neighborhoods, the best neighborhoods, living on the highest level in the studio apartment that costs $2,000 to $3,000 a month and all that stuff. Like, been there, done that. And all that, it didn't mean, matter of fact, it was a waste of money. How you doing, Sister Helen? I've been there, done that, to where I had the huge flamboyant wedding and all that stuff. And my wife and I looked at each other about a year and a half down the road and said, you know what? Like, we don't even talk to these people anymore. We could have just gone ahead and just made sure that we got a house. Now, praise God, the Most High was able to get it to where we have something we can leave for generations later on. But like, we didn't need any of that. That was something that everybody told you were supposed to have. I mean, we had the chandeliers, we had the piano playing, we had the cello playing down, Canon and D, all that stuff. We had all that, right? Standing there in the tux that cost 250, 300 a day, you know, and that was cheap, in comparison to what I probably could have gotten. I had all those things, right? My wife came down, I mean, was looking amazing in the dress, right? Everybody was sitting up there, and every time we were going to people's weddings after, for a while, we got invited to other people's weddings, and we sit there and we would do the same thing. We wouldn't even mean to do it. We'd be sitting there, we'd be like, man, well, we had this and we had that, comparing weddings and realizing how foolish we were to even do that, right? But when you get to a certain point of actual financial security, you don't really care what other people have. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I've seen some weddings where there were a few people there, and we were able to speak the word of Yah as people were walking from one place to another, and we were able to like have a marital ceremony, and they were able to just relax and get away from their children. We babysat children and all that stuff, and had a great time. And I mean, it's completely, and seeing that, those things, and them being around people who were actually interested in their life. Is a different mentality, right? And so what's happened is once again, if we're talking about internal purity, blessed are the pure in heart, right? in your heart there has to be a purity. I never compare. I won't say I never compare. That's not correct, and I don't even think that's exactly what that coveting is necessarily. You can compare, but never be in a place to where you want what somebody else has just because they have it, if it's, especially if it's not God's will for you to have it, right? But I've gotten to a place I don't care. Like, I don't really care for, oh, I'm better at teaching or preaching, or I get more views, or blah blah, whatever. Like, who cares? Like, honestly, who cares? I've been to a place where I get millions of views on videos. I've been in a place to where, they won't let anybody see a video, and I still have to keep pushing. The mandate hasn't changed. That's an internal purity. When you get to a place to where it's on the inside, and Yah blesses you on the inside, you start seeing manifestation on the outside. And when you see the manifestation on the outside, it's not even, I won't say that I'm not proud of it or thankful for it or grateful for it, or I don't praise Yah for it. Hear what I'm saying, though. Hopefully get the context. It doesn't change my whole life, or I don't get like to this place to where everything that I've done, because something manifests, I go, oh wow, look at this, or I go, everybody look at me, or everybody look at my example, or look at my testimony, look at this. I don't necessarily do that anymore, because what's on the outside is just something that I've been living with on the inside for a while. I'm not saying there aren't times where I don't break out crying because Yah does something and I just didn't think that was possible, right? He continues to do stuff like that with me quite a bit. I'm sorry, what did you say? The black man is equal to the white man? I don't think any two people are equal about anything. My wife and I are not equal. She's better at some things than I am, and I'm better at some things than she is. What I'm saying, why you go straight to the black man versus the white man, you might need to ask yourself why it is. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, right? No two people are equal. You should love the people because of their not being equal. Can you love somebody because they don't look like you or don't talk like you? Can you be all right with an Irish lass looking different than an African queen? I mean, so that's a you problem. I think you need to like pray about that and think about that as far as why you even want somebody to be equal. Don't be equal. Be all right with being yourself. How you doing, Art by J? You stay blessed as well. So see, in my mind, I don't worry about comparing, right? Like, so for some of you, every time the Republican Party does something, you're going to compare it to the Democrat Party. And every time the Democratic Party does something, they're going to compare it to the Republican Party. Every time the Republican Party does something, they're going to compare it back to Abraham Lincoln. And every time the Democratic Party does something, they're going to compare it back to Abraham Lincoln. And it's still getting you in the same place. You have not gotten to a place of internal purity. Abraham Lincoln did not make you pure, no matter what party you're in, no matter what color you are. There has to be something on the inside that happens. Your heart, your passion is bad, right? And may I say this? Thine passion. See, thine passion, your individual passion, thine passion is not correct. All right, peace, Missy. So your passion is, once again, external. Everything outside of you, everything outside of your culture, everything outside of your family, everything outside of your people, everything outside of your heart, or gets to infiltrate your heart, but there's no kingdom in there. You said, how can one be equal to another individual as to another an individual as an individual? Well, yeah, but what I'm even saying is that there's never, like, just scientifically speaking, right? I agree with you, by the way. Just scientifically speaking, there's never been two people who have been the same. There's never been. How you doing, Brother Vargas? There's never been two people who've been the same. Never. Not once. Scientifically speaking, there have never been two people. I don't care about all your stuff about doppelgangers and all that stuff. There's never been two people who have been the same. No two people have ever had the same fingerprints. How you doing, Robert? No two people have ever had the same exact size of all proportions the same. No two people have ever had the same exact blood. Never. So once again, equality is mythical. It's a myth. It's not even something that's a mystery, because it's not something that can be revealed. There's no equality. There's no two people that have ever been exactly the same. So once again, I can't even look at a twin brother or a doppelganger or somebody because of the color of their skin or somebody who's the same size or whatever, we might have very similar experiences, but my peace has to come from the inside. My purity, once again, purified, and something has to be put inside. Remember, we were talking about the oyster. How do they make the pearls? They put something on the inside of the oyster that causes the oyster to start to grow this pearl, and what you call the pearly substance kind of grows around that, right? That's how it works. It's something that to be put on the inside in order to get the pearl going, because the pearl is going to grow on the inside. You're not going to have the pearl on the outside. The pearl needs to be on the inside of the oyster, and the inside of the oyster must at least be healthy enough to deal with what's been placed on the inside. See, something's been put on the inside of you, and a lot of us are not healthy enough, mentally healthy enough even, to be able to ensure that what's been placed on the inside can actually grow a pearl. Right? How you doing, Sister Toya? Right? May I say that again? Yah has put some, when we talk about a pearl, and they're farming these oysters and stuff, and they start making the pearls and they put them in these cages. They have to make sure that all the conditions are righteous, so that the oyster is healthy enough to carry what's been placed on the inside. Right? Yeast needs sugar and all that. Yeah, for sure. Right? So you have something that's been placed on the inside, but are you healthy enough? Is the environment even healthy enough? We just read about it, right? That if you have a pearl, the pearl has to have the correct environment. The pearl needs it to be about 75 degrees. If it gets too hot or too cold too soon, then the pearl can't make it. If the environment is bad, or if they're not getting enough food that's washed in and out for the pearl to be, or for the oyster rather, excuse me, to be able to get what it is necessary, then either the oyster will not be able to survive, or the pearl will not grow the way that you're hoping it would grow. There's something that's been placed inside you, right? They call it mother of pearl. There's a mother of pearl, so to speak, that's been placed inside you, and everything needs to be correct to make sure that the pearl can grow. And what we're having an issue with is internal purity. Do you have the mental health? See, watch this. Somebody says, "How do I become pure? Or how do I make sure that I'm right? Or I'm not feeling great about myself?" Like, we don't even think about mental health issues, right? Eh, Look, Yah wants you to prosper in all things, even as your soul prospers. In the Greek, the word soul means psyche, Psyche, psyche in the Greek. We talked about that earlier, right? Psyche. How you doing, Miss Mac? So if your psyche is off, if your psychology is off, if you cannot confess to say what has been said, say what has been done, or confession in the Greek homologio, the same logic, logia, right? If you don't have the same logic or the same psychology as the one who said to the wind and the waves, "Peace, be still," then you're going to run into a lot of storms and never have the psychology to make sure that there's peace. To childhood environment damage your inside. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we went through that we should have never had to go through, that we should have never had to experience, and we're not going through and saying, "Hey, this pearl is going to be misshapen if we don't make sure that the environment is correct." See, so that's what we talked about before. See, what's on the inside begins to manifest on what's the outside. What's on the inside is going to manifest on the outside. Why do your neighborhoods look the way that they do? Check the inside. See, you keep checking the government. You're not teaching our children correctly. You're not teaching your children correctly. See, but we don't want to deal with it that way. They're not making it easy for men out there because they don't do this. We're not making it easy for men. They're not making it easy for women to get paid, blah, blah. We're not. Where are our opportunities for our women? Where are our opportunities for our men? Where are our rewards for our people? BET Awards is not for us. How you doing, Sister Tori? BET Awards are not for us. And Sister Tori, if you can, please, if I don't get to you sometime after the live session, feel free to text me and remind me about what I need to. We need to make sure that we, complete for you. All right. These these are these are things we're not thinking of. We keep looking for everybody else to tell us who we are. Everybody else is going to tell us who we are. When do we tell us who we are? And when do we look at ourselves? I asked this earlier. I'll ask it again. See, now we got a little more comprehension of what purity is. If I were to ask you, what about you is pure? What would you say? You see, we have to develop from the outside in. We always look at the external. What's she wearing? She wearing too much cleavage. He his pants too tight. Blah 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 this. Blah blah that. Right? We have to get to a place and look, I'm glad about it, right? Have pure intentions. That's awesome. We need to make sure that your intentions have something with it too, right? And I'm not talking to you personally, I'm saying in general, right? It is something called character. The number one is always the number one. It might be called uno, etc., right? Universe, one verse, one single spoken sentence, whatever. We might have many different things, right? One, alav, aleph, etc. But one is always going to be one because that's its character. Character does not change. And the problem is that on the inside, when it comes to internal purity, we don't have character. If I were to take the letter A and give it to you in English, you would say that's A. If I were to tell you in Greek, you would say that that's alpha, right? Which really the letter A is. You speak the alpha, or you use the alphabet because you're writing in a version of Greek, right? But if I were to take A and put it on its side, right, and bring it back to its original form before it was the alphabet, it was the aleph bit, which means that you would say it was aleph or it was alav, right? But it's still the same character. It's like when people try to say, um, I can change the name of Yahashua, of Yeshua, of Yahawashai, of Yahushua, of Yahavashai, of Jesus, of Yesu, of Yesus, etc. I can change it to whatever I want. It doesn't matter what the name is. No, what somebody's name is doesn't change. My name is Kofi. And in Twi, my name is Kofi. In Ashanti, my name is Kofi. In Igbo, my name is Kofi. In the United States, my name is Kofi. In Canada, my name is Kofi. Right? It's my character. It doesn't change. How you doing, Brother Kofi? How you doing, Batty? Thanks for being part of the community. It does not change. It's my character. That's why it says, it tells you in the word, if my people who are called by my name, part of your name should include the character of the Most High. It shouldn't change. See, but you're into a thing to where things change all the time. So see, you get into a relationship and what you do is you don't say somebody needs to make sure that my character becomes one with somebody else's character. What you do is you say, I'll get rid of certain things to try and make sure that I appease the other person, or the other person needs to get rid of themselves, their character, so they can appease me. And that's not how this works. How you doing, Irene? Thanks for being on. Oh, from Spain? Okay. How you doing? See, one's character is extremely important and necessary. How you doing, Tamaya? Shalom. Right? Like one's character is extremely necessary, vital, important. Yeah, glasses. One's character is extremely vital. There's a character. See, this is why culture is extremely important. Culture builds character. Right? We talked about this, and we have this on our YouTube channel if you want to go back and look. Right? But culture to habits. Culture informs my beliefs. My beliefs inform my emotions. My emotions inform my feelings. My feelings inform my mood. My mood informs my effort or energy. My effort or energy informs my habits. And if I've done it correctly, my habits should be in line with the culture that influenced my beliefs in the first place, which will therefore inform the next generation's what? Inform the next generation's emotions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. See, my culture should ultimately be the character. What's happened is people keep taking away your character out of all this. I wouldn't say you made a mistake. I mean, those are both biblical names. I mean, my son's name's Solomon. Uh, Simon Peter, is a different cultural reference point, but I mean, we know what you're talking about. But I'm just saying, as far as in general, right? Like the culture is something that's necessary. I don't know, Robin. We're on, but the culture is something that's necessary, and we don't have a culture that permeates something on the inside. So once again, if I were to ask the average person what is love, if I were to ask 100 people what is love, a bunch of people would tell me 100 versions of what is love. What if I were to tell you that if I were to ask 100 people what is marriage, I would get 100 different definitions? Real talk. Right? And I apologize. Seems like people are having a tough time getting on TikTok. That's why we try to have YouTube and other platforms as well, because TikTok doesn't necessarily like us going over a certain number. So, right, I might try to restart it in a second, even though you guys won't. It'll just pause on your end, but we'll see. Right. And how you doing? It looks like it just says hearts on there. So how you doing? Right. Um, but see, there's a culture that you must recognize, that you must realize, uh, that influences character. We don't even have a cultural reference point for marriage. Our people used to do stuff like jump the broom. What is that? It was just a quick way we could go, hey, you can do this real quick. Nobody knows what we're doing. We have to have a big ceremony. You guys can be married and you can still be slaves. Right? They took away a cultural reference point. What does marriage even look like for you? Even biblically, I've talked about this before, biblically in the Bible. You show me in your Bible, right? For those of you who use the Bible as your canonical viewpoint, I use it as well. But for those of you who believe in your Bible, you show me in the Bible where two people who get married walk down the aisle. How you doing, Peaches? Thanks for being on. Yeah, the culture definitely gave it. Yeah, it gives you a new vision. See, like this is culture. Like the people who wrote the Bible don't even believe in what you say that you're supposed to do to get married. They do not believe it. They don't agree with it. They never wrote it out. The Most High never said this is what you're supposed to do. None of that. Hey, how you doing, Margaret? Margaret. None of that's in your Bible. But you say, but when you get married, you say that's what you're supposed to do. I fell for the okey doke too. I did. That's what everybody told you you're supposed to do. But you realize real quick, wait a minute, that's not even correct. I wonder how many more things we're doing that are out of character because there's no culture there. And therefore we have an impure thing that has made its way in. You said, and people make it like sin when you don't conform. Yeah, because they don't want to be transformative. They want you to be conformative. Yeah, jumping the broom is someone's philosophy. By the way, we just had to do it. Anyways, when we jumped the broom, it was something we had to do. At least so we thought. Right? No problem, Irene. How you doing? Oh, you said what, religion? Religion just means a legion of people that repetitively do the same thing. But if you want to say what we're called, followers of the way, Yashada'am, believers of the word, um, you can say I'm Shwi, Amor to a certain degree, Anakitawaya, Yashada'al, Yahabada'an. I mean, right now we can just look at me as a human being, though. Not saying that you're not, just saying. Um, but there's a lot of different things that we're not looking at. Right? There's a lot of different things that we are not looking at, and we're not aware of. Okay, if you think that this is matted, sure. It doesn't look like what you want it to look like. It's definitely clean though. It was clean yesterday, but I appreciate you. If that's your way of saying hello, Shane, how you doing? Probably wasn't, because it doesn't look like you're actually somebody who's interested in treating people with respect. I like your picture though. It's a nice picture. Hopefully you're. But once again, out of the abundance of the heart, does the mouth speak. Right? Somebody's not looking at what's on the inside. And sure, I guess if this is matted, I mean, I can see that or whatever. If it's matted, then I guess my hair is matted, right? But I praise y'all, right? It's healthy. And looking at, you know what? I was about to do something that's wrong. Forgive me, Holy Spirit. Just saying that we have to realize, right? It's once again in the abundance of the heart that the mouth speak. What is your internal purity? What is your internal purity? What is your internal purity? Okay, he was on yesterday, sure. What does your internal purity look like? I can tell what's going on with you when certain things come out your mouth. You can't even treat people with respect. I say this to people all the time. It's really interesting how people will tell me that I'm a terrible person and this, that, or whatever. And I'm like, you can't even say hello. Like a greeting would show me more about you. I got that from Knowledge Reigns Supreme over everybody, KRS1. He said, wherever I go in the world, and I've done this wherever I've gone in the world, he said, wherever you go in the world, make sure that you learn how to say hello, please, thank you. In my culture, we don't date, so I don't have a girlfriend. I have a wife. Um, right? Haven't had a girlfriend. Haven't had a girlfriend, really. I guess you could say like somebody I went out with for a couple of days here or there, but I'm not raised in that kind of culture. But my wife is. I don't know what the question was though. How about her as far as what issue? But you said when people live in sin, they don't like to see or hear. Yeah, the Most High being righteous. Yeah, and once again, internal purity. I don't look at external things. So even in that, like I'm just being even in that, like when people talk about a girlfriend, I don't know about that. That's something external from my culture. I don't. And when I say no, KNOW, the word means to be intimate with. I'm not intimate with how to make dating work because dating isn't something that's focused on marriage, right? And a lot of people come in with a mindset, even with dating, right, where their mindset is marriage is or I'm going to date somebody to see if I can get married. If you're dating somebody, that comes with a date, an expiration date, hence the term dating. If something is dated, what do you think of that? Do you think that's something that's going to last, or do you think that's something that has a shelf life? How you doing, Shabbos? Right, and hopefully you're doing all right, sir. Right, if you're dating, right, you come something that's dated comes with a shelf life. If I'm dating something, right, of course we're talking about dating someone, but if I'm dating something, it means that I'm putting a date on it. And that's what you do. You go out with somebody, you put a date on it. You go out with somebody, you see if it's going to last until the end of the date. And then you say, okay, well, maybe we'll go out on another date. And maybe we'll go out on another date. And then maybe you say you'll go steady, but you're not trying to see if you're going to be married. And if you even get married, that's why a lot of your marriages break up, because once something happens, you already have dates in mind. So if you've already dated, so if this person does this, if this person doesn't make this much money, if this person never comes out their mouth and say this, if this person has a bad day and says this, you've already decided you're done. How you doing, T? Thanks for being part of the community. In your mind, you've already decided you're done because you have a dated mentality. Matter of fact, a lot of you have a dated mentality with your husband, because that's how you see, because that's what influenced you. So when you read your Bible, you're still looking at things as far as dated, right? It's not an internal purity. See, because every other person that you call king, what's up, king? What's up, king? Okay, well, those kings, I have dated relationship with them. He treat me like a queen, but then we dating. Once we finish, then we dated. But Yahweh is eternal. He doesn't look at you and say, all right, let's see if it'll work out tomorrow. He said that I'll send my son to make sure that if you want to go ahead and be married unto him, you can last for eternity. So a lot of stuff is going to be hard when it comes to internal impurity for many. I'm sorry, internal purity for many, because many people are coming in this with, how is this going to help me with the end of my day, or help me with tomorrow, or help me with a bill? And Yah says, whether you can pay the bill or not, I'm still here. How you doing, farmer? Thanks for being part of the community. See, a lot of people are missing. Yah says, as long as you, even if the bill's not paid, it doesn't mean I'm not there. In your mind, if the bill's not paid, it must be because he's not there with me. See, and what's the number one reason for divorce in the West? Lack of money. No Skrilla, right? I'm not talking something foreign, am I? I'm speaking what we know, this is, or what we're aware of. Number one reason that people aren't making it is because you have your money runs out. And it's because in your mind, you got together with somebody, and then once y'all got past whatever and you got married, you said, at least, okay, even if stuff is rocky, at least we support each other and build. Some people will stay in relationships way well past their expiration date, if you will, because you're still trying to make sure that you stay in something that you should have never gotten in the first place. But hey, now we're in this, and I pay this much, they pay this much. If I leave them alone, how am I going to be able to deal with this? You got into it for an impure reason. Now, is security important? Is money important? Yeah. Somebody said, I don't want to hit you with something that act like you should never think about money. How you doing, Cheryl? I don't want you to believe that you should be with somebody who doesn't have any kind of financial plan at all. Um, However, it should not be the main reason that you're getting with somebody. Matter of fact, it should be ancillary. It should be something that's so ubiquitous in our culture that we take care of each other, that poverty is not even something that is bothersome, because even if we're run into a situation, we as a community can take care of each other. That shouldn't even be a problem for us. But once again, we're so into making sure that we leave our communities and go into somebody else's and let somebody else, or work for somebody else and live in somebody else's place and work twice as hard to get half as much, that we're so excited to get half as much, not realizing that our community has nothing. How you doing, Ginger? Praise Yahweh. Amen. Praise Yahweh. Right? See, it's like we have a problem here. No internal purity. Community is all over the place. I don't know if we have too many people in Spain, but we do have people in the United States of America and Great Britain. So, England, Wales, Ireland, Scotland. We have people in South Africa, um, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, um, Jamaica, Canada, etc. Mine specifically, I mean, I guess I stay in the United States of America. I travel a lot, so I'm not really in one place specifically. Even in the United States of America, we have a lot of people all over the place who come together quite a bit, whether I'm there or not. But yeah, we're trying to build a nation, so of like-minded people. So a nation is, a nation, and not necessarily where people are, but who people are from, if that makes sense. Right? No problem. Thank you for the question. So yeah, but there's a lot of things that we don't really get. How you doing, Brother Allen? Be safe out there. There's a lot of stuff that we're not even thinking about. There's a lot of stuff that we're not even aware of, and we're not thinking about internally. Internal purity is what we're talking about today. Internal purity. Being a wife starts on the inside, and it starts before you get married. In our culture, you don't walk down the aisle to become a wife. In our culture, you're Yahweh's wife, and if he allows you to be somebody else's wife in the physical while you are his wife in the spiritual, right, then that is allowed. But you have to be qualified as a wife first. How you doing, Paul? Thanks for being on. Thank you for the love. How you doing, DW? Right. So, and how you doing, Marlon? So we have it once again reversed. Many people say once he put a ring on it. Matter of fact, isn't that the thing that everybody started saying with who's the situation? Usher. I don't even know it that deeply. I saw a little piece of it. Usher and Kiki something. Is it Kiki Palmer? Kiki whoever. And she was wearing what she was wearing, and Usher sang to her and all this stuff like that or whatever. Right. And everybody, it became this point of contention, and oh, you're trying to slut shame her. Well, until somebody put a ring on it, I'm not even in a committed relationship and stuff like that. See, you don't recognize what it is. What you're saying is I can be as lascivious as I want, and then once I put a ring on it, or somebody puts a ring on it, once I become married, then I officially will start acting like a wife. That's not how it works. And if you don't like my saying it, if you want to try and say that I'm patriarchal or whatever, you call me whatever you want. That's not how it works. Now, she has a right, because it's her body, for real, for real. I have no problem. She has a right to do whatever she wants, but for every choice comes an invoice. She has a right to choose whatever she'd like to be, whatever she'd like to do, however she'd like to approach it. But you can't sit up there and say that I'm going to do whatever. Like, just call it what it is. Like, I'm out there basically with some scandalous clothing on, and I think that that's fine. And that's cool, right? But once again, also too, she has a dated mentality. She has a dating mentality. She has a boyfriend. She doesn't have a husband. She doesn't have somebody that she's trying to say she's in a committed relationship. Although, had that boyfriend, let's just be honest about this, and forgive me if you'll think I'm attacking somebody. I'm not, right? But let's be honest. If that boyfriend who had a problem with what was going on, if that problem, if that boyfriend had done what he did, what she did to him, she probably would have hit him upside the head. I'm sorry, in my culture, how is a wife chosen for her husband? Um, he who finds a wife, the wife chooses whether or not she's going to be with the husband. In our culture, and this is even a biblical culture as well, right? In our culture, you would train somebody to be a husband and a wife from basically the time of birth. So in our culture, if I as a son am born from ages 0 to 3, because we start from in the womb, and really the Most High even knew us before we were born, but the Most High knows me from in the womb, right? So inside the womb, I'm being taught certain things. I'm listening. I learn what pain is. I learn what frustration is. I learn what anger is. I can see all this stuff. I learn what joy looks like. You can actually literally see the electric pulses and stuff on the inside. Ages 0 to 3, I'm taught that I'm a boy. Ages This is our culture. If it's not your culture, that's fine. Ages 0 through 3, I'm taught that I'm a boy. I'm a male. Ages 4 through 6, I'm then weaned from my mother, not physically as far as from her milk, because I'm probably already weaned from her bosom, right? But I'm weaned from her as far as I'm not going to be hanging around her as much and not be a mama's boy. Why? Because ages 7 through 9, right? Ages 7 through 9, I'm going to actually get to a place to where I'm going to become my father's apprentice. Whatever my father does is going to end up being what I do, right? That's why Hushfeld was a carpenter. His father, Yesab, was a carpenter, right? Whatever daddy does is what you're going to end up doing. Daddy is your teacher, right? Then ages 10 through 12, I'm going to end up getting extreme education, because a lot of stuff that you guys are learning in your school systems from like kindergarten through now, they're trying to go through like 14th grade or something like that. At some point, they're going to try to institute. It's stuff that you guys don't even remember, but things that you actually need for your society, for your culture, and for your actual well-being is stuff that's not taught. Then ages 13 through 15, I'm going to be taught what it is to be an adult male. And I'm going to come in front of a group of board members, if you want to call it that, but people in our society. And they're going to actually quiz me and test me on some things. That's why we have a bar mitzvah, or what you call a bar mitzvah, right? Then ages 16 through 18, I'm going to be trained on what it is to be a husband, because I'm not finished yet. I have to be qualified before marriage to be a husband, right? Just like you have to have a driver's license before you drive, just like you have to have tattoo. You have to be licensed certain things before you tattoo. You have to be licensed certain chemicals before you do hair. You have to be licensed certain things before you become a barber, right? You have to be licensed. You have to be trained before those things. Then they still don't stop there. They say, but you still need to be trained to be a father. Why? Because not only should you be a physical father, but also you should become somebody's spiritual father. Then from there, they will give me my inheritance. After I finish that, ages 19 through 21, they'll give me an inheritance. And then they'll say, all the stuff that we taught you, we believe you to be qualified. We want you to take what your father's business and everything and grow it. Right. So now we're dealing with wealth as well. And now also, too, all those things I've been given, I start to utilize. I go into what's called my work, not my job, but my work, right? Which is a continuation of my father's work. And my father, therefore, sends me. That's why the father sins, right? It's the same context as a cultural reference. Then from there, once I finish with that, once I'm in my work, I might find a wife. She's not my wife, but I might find a wife, somebody who's going through a very similar process, right? Obviously, flip some of that stuff as far as she's learning from her mother, ages 7 through 9, and she's going through a bat mitzvah or a bat mitzvah and all that stuff or whatever. And then once she finishes those things, she's been trained to be a wife and a mother. And then instead of getting her inheritance, she stays in her father's house. She can still have her own business, do whatever, but she's supposed to be secured in our community. So she stays in her father's house. She has her own room. She might even have her own mansion or add on to the house, but she's doing her thing. She probably has her own business, or maybe she doesn't. Maybe she just helps around the house. It depends on what she wants to do. She's allowed to be protected in her feminine divinity. So once that happens, I might find, while I'm in my work, I might find a wife. And when I find a wife, then I get a chance to go ahead and give her my resume. I study her for a little bit, study to show yourself approved, bring it before Elohim, that she can be a workman, that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. I might study her for a little while and see what's going on, ask some questions, and then I present myself. And then I say, hey, I'm a husband. This is what I do. This is my work. I really am looking for somebody to help me to multiply what I'm doing. In a sense, I'm not saying you have to do this exactly, but in a sense, here's a portfolio. Do you like what you see in the portfolio? Do you think that my mission is something that's valid of you being submitted to? Because it's not called submansion. She's not submitted to me, the man. She's submitted to the mission, what the vessel has been given by the Most High. So we talk it through, all that. She gets to think about it, ponder, pray, bring it to her family, talk to her friends, study me, all this stuff. And then she might come back and say, okay, I'm all right with that. Like, let's see how this works. From there, then our families have to come in on it. There's something called a knocking ceremony. When it says, behold, I stand at the door and knock, you would go and you would actually, so I would show up with my father or a father figure. There would be plenty of witnesses from the community. My father would knock on the door of her father. Behold, I stand at the door and knock, right? And then they would decide whether or not they would let me in. If they let me in, then, or let us in, then my father would try to pour a drink, whether it's actual alcohol or whether it's some tea or something like that. They would pour a drink for her father. Her father gets to decide, am I going to actually um, listen to this proposal? If he takes a drink, that's saying he'll listen to the proposal. From then on, all of us, our parents and everything, and even witnesses from the community are going to listen to us talk about things, including even a dowry or a price, because she's more precious than rupees, but still it doesn't mean that I'm not taking her from somebody's family. So therefore I should make sure that I'm willing, whether it's working a certain amount of years or my father's going to give, or I'm going to give even some finances to him or whatever, because I'm taking something of value from their family, even though we'll all be family. But real talk, she's going to end up coming into a place with me, because why? If everything's agreed upon, she's going to stay and start preparing herself for me. I'm going to go to back to my father's property now and build onto his house, something called a mansion. Beloved, let not your heart be troubled. If you believe in the Father, also believe it in me. In my Father's house, there are many mansions. Those are add-ons. We think a mansion is just a big house, but a mansion is an add-on to my Father's house, right? So once I put that add-on, the Father, that's why no man knows the end of the hour, but the Father's watching over me and saying, Kofi, you know what? Your wife's going to need this. And hey, I talked to her father and I talked to her mother, and they told me and your mother, they told us that she likes cooking. So you're going to have to make sure the kitchen's better than that. And she's going to want like 7 children. So you're going to have this and this and this. And she's going to want this, she's going to want that. And she's just going to continue. Right. So I'm going to continuously be building this stuff over and over and over again. How you doing again, Brother Allen? I'm going to be building all this stuff up, building this stuff up. And then once my father says, all right, son, you're ready to go get your wife, who's been preparing herself for me, right? Having the oil in her lamp, ready to go. I'm going to go back. And then I'm going to go back. And that's when he talks about the virgins, 5 had, oil, 5 didn't. I'm going to come back. And this time, right, when I'm coming back, and there's going to be a celebration through the streets, because they know I'm coming for my bride. I'm coming for my wife. And we're going to get ready to have a celebration. And then in the midst of the celebration, we're going to become one, right? So now when I'm on my way back, she's supposed to be prepared, and her having oil in her lamp goes along with what it is that goes along with her showing that, hey, I've been preparing for you. I got not just oil, but it's got to be fresh oil. I've got oil in my lamp. So now when I show up again, my father knocked the first time. Second time I show up, it's me. And then when I show up knocking, after all this stuff has happened, right, and all these years of our lives have been prepared for this, then we're going to go ahead. She's going to come with me, and then we're going to have a celebration. In the midst of the celebration, we're going to become one in another room somewhere. And when we come out, everybody's going to celebrate, and the father of the bride is going to go and he's going to grab the sheet. The sheet's going to have her blood, right, and my blood or semen, and it's going to be mixed together. And at any time after that, if I decide I want to divorce, or she decides she wants to divorce, or whatever, we have to go back to her father, and her father has to say, he's going to pull out the sheet in front of us. He's going to say, look, you have a blood oath. You're going to say, what's so terrible that I have to go ahead and release you from your blood oath? Right. And there's more that goes with it, obviously. Right. But that's so when you talk about what is the culture, how does one find, the husband doesn't choose the wife. He finds a wife, and she chooses whether or not she wants to be with him. But he has to submit a mission that he submitted to, so that she can decide whether she likes the mission, and she'll be submitted to it. If she submits to the mission and loves the mission, then she has to love the vessel that the mission comes to, so she'll love the husband. You see? So it doesn't, in Ephesians 5:22, it doesn't focus on the word love, even though Titus 2 does say, elder wives should teach the younger wives how to love their husbands. So the Bible does tell wives to love their husbands. There's some people that do that weird thing and say, the Bible doesn't say wives love your husbands. That's not true at all. If you hear somebody say that, that's not true. Titus chapter 2, you'll see it clear as day, right? But It doesn't mention the word love in Ephesians 5:22. It talks about her submitting to a mission, because by submitting to the mission, she must love her husband. And it doesn't say for the husband to submit to the wife, although Ephesians 5:21 says, let us submit ourselves one to another. But Ephesians 5:25 doesn't say submit to the wife. It says what? It says, love your wife as your husband love the assembly. Because if I love the assembly, then I'll also be submitted to the mission. That means that the assembly must be protected. You see, but that and where did I get that from? I didn't get that from everybody else's culture. I didn't get that from walking down the aisle. Thanks for being on, Nicola. Vigilance, how you doing? Right. I didn't get that from what everybody else thinks about marriage. I didn't get that from what the United States teaches us in school. I didn't get that from what England taught us. I didn't get that from Oxford. I didn't get that from Berkeley. I didn't get that from Juilliard. I didn't get that. I got that from culture. I got that from internal purity. That's what we're talking about today, is internal purity. Do you have the word in you like that? Do you have your culture in you like that, to where it should be that much, right? That's why when somebody talks to me about marriage and they say, well, this, that, or whatever, you don't even comprehend. Once somebody is, see, watch this, even in, I missed a little piece in there. Once we had the initial conversation, see, we don't sign marriage certificates, even though we can do private contracts and stuff for the situation we're in now. But we don't sign marriage certificates, once we're married. You actually sign your paperwork when you get engaged. Once we're engaged, the wife is already literally adopted into the family, although she has not become one with the husband. In our culture, sex is marriage, marriage is sex. So even though we have not had the marriage or the sex yet, we still have signed documentation saying that I belong to her, she belongs to me, which means that she has already been adopted into the family, which is why we paid a dowry. All this stuff is a transaction that's taking place. How you doing, off grid? How you doing, Linda? Right. So a lot of people don't even comprehend. So they'll be like, well, this person this and this person that. You'll see all these weird talks about marriage. And it's like, do you not comprehend that once there was an engagement, she was already adopted in? That means that she's considered to be my family. So my wife, once her and I and our parents and everything got on board, she was already family, even if we had not laid down with each other. How you doing, Brooklyn Zone? How you doing, Bobblehead? Oh, same person? Okay. Right. Like, but what we don't comprehend that. We're looking for everybody else to tell us about a culture that nobody else even tries to replicate. Now they try to modify, but they do not try to replicate. Yeah, like Mary and Joseph. That's a Yasav at Mariam. Like we don't even think about that. That Mariam, once when it says Joseph was going to put her away, they had not had sex yet, right? They had not had sex. They had not had marriage. They had not become one. But he was going to put her away. Why? Because the documentation was already signed. She had already been adopted into the family. So once he found out that she was pregnant, he was having a problem with it because they hadn't laid down with each other. But he had already signed the documentation. The two had already become one on paper, even if they hadn't become one. It was a faith statement. The paperwork was a faith statement. The works just hadn't been done yet. So they were preparing themselves for the works, but the faith statement was made already. The dowry was paid already. Right? How you doing, Alonda? He said, what if there isn't a father on the husband's side? If there isn't a father, normally we would look at somebody else becoming in the father's role. So spiritual father, but even before that, we would hope, and it's culture, right? Nowadays, it's so mixed up because so many people don't follow this stuff, so it's hard. But if things were all the way we were supposed to do, if the father had passed, we would look for whoever was up next in the family, right? So maybe the uncle, or if you had an older brother that was of age to where he could lead the family, maybe it would be the oldest brother who would be able to look over these things. Um, Possibly the mother, even though normally we wouldn't have the mother just do it by herself, and the father shouldn't just do it by himself either. Um, but if not, then you have rabbis, or you have spiritual father, or you have you have the Sanhedrin that might look at it, or whatever the case might be. So you still have to have, you would still have somebody line up, right? So even if the father wasn't in the picture, somebody in a fatherly role should still be in position, right? Not just Yahweh. That's an easy one for it. We just go, well, I'll just let Yah do it. But he's put this stuff in a reason. There should be some kind of father figure that steps in, and now that means we have to make sure this father figure actually genuinely is concerned, cares, has the culture down, whatever, right? So it does, if your father is not there, or if your mother is not there, you should have somebody in the fatherly role or a motherly role, to make sure that it's completed. But once again, we don't even think about, and great question, by the way. Thank you for that, Sister Tori. And thank you for whoever posted it or put it up for me to catch. I think it's Sister Nadine, probably. But we had this issue because we have no culture. How you doing, Joan John? We have this cultural issue where nobody's actually taking time out to look at what is the culture of it. Right? Culture is going to bring about character. Character should not change. Right? Matthew 5:18. Until heaven and earth pass, should not one jot or tittle in no wise pass from the word. Right? That we should not change even the characters that are written, let alone the way that we live. But everybody's changing so much that who knows who you are now. I mean, you've been African American, you've been black, you've been Negro. You were at one point considered to be Native American. You were considered to be the original American. See, people use these terms and we don't even know what they really mean. Native American. Nobody wants to tell you that means you were the original American. The definition of American. There's two definitions of America, right, or of American. The first definition in Western law. First definition was what? A copper-colored person indigenous to the Americas. The second definition is what? Is what you call the modern American today, whatever that is. And all they did to make that modern American was throw some tea over, put on blackface, put on the outfits of those that they had already scalped and taken out. And then they said, now we're the Americans. But how do you become what you're not? The American has to be a copper colored person indigenous to the Americas. But this is why you have $5 Indians and all the stuff that pops up. So once again, when you say American, you keep looking for somebody outside of you to confirm the American that's inside of you. We're talking about internal purity. Internal purity. Sisters, um, why is it that you still get pads and tampons with plastic in them? Somebody didn't even think we were going to go there today. I didn't even think we were going to go there today, but we're going to let her move, right? Why do you have stuff with tampons, and why are you still using tampons and pads that have plastic inside of them? It's a weird question, but it's not a weird question. I'm trying to tell you that somebody who doesn't have your best interest at heart from the outside is literally putting something that's hurting you on the inside. No wonder your periods is messed up. No wonder you have progesterone levels, if you even know what progesterone is, versus testosterone and I'm sorry, y'all. Why am I messing up on this word? Progesterone is what I'm focused on, but you have testosterone. You have, sorry, somebody help me. I'm having a brain moment. Estrogen, thank you. Right? You're looking at your estrogen levels, never even thinking about progesterone levels and how much plastic is messing you up, or the food that you're eating. A lot of our sisters, they're having all this acne and stuff like that, or little black things sometimes that come in as well that are really hard. And you're like, I can't get rid of them. I can't get rid of them. Not realizing that it's a lot of it has to do with what you're putting, that not only what you're inserting in yourself or even putting around yourself, or the fact that you can't breathe down there. So why don't we make sure in our own community that we tell our sisters, especially those who are really all women, but especially those who are more melanated, you need to breathe. How you doing, old head energy? Like, you need to breathe down there. Yeah, we're creating toxins. We're creating fibroid cysts down there. And you're sitting up there saying, why do I feel like this? Why I feel like that? Yeah. The fibroid cysts, by the way, fibroid cysts really pop up. My wife does a whole class on fibroid cysts. She hasn't done it in a while, but when you look at fibroid cysts, she brought up something that was powerful that I never really thought about. Well, she's had me thinking about it for some years now, but I never really thought about it with fibroid cysts, where you got to think about the manifestation and where it comes, even from the psychology or the spirit sometimes. And what I'm saying is like, what do I mean by that? Like, you have this thing that's going on where, like, the fibroid, if you look at it, what happens with the cyst, it actually is usually your body wrapping itself around something to try and protect the body from it. Just like if you're going through something, some issue psychologically, you try to wrap it. something around it so you don't have to deal with it. Your body does the same thing. So a lot of times when you're stressed out, you're having these fibroid cysts. Then you're putting plastic in your body. Then you're covering up, with plastic down there on top of it. Then you're eating foods that don't necessarily serve what you're supposed to have. Then your 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 pancreas, yeah, your pancreas is dealing with some stuff because you're not even eating enough fruits, not just vegetables, but even fruits, stuff that has seed in it, not just fruitless seed, but real fruit. And so you're going through all this stuff, and your body's going through all these things, and you're having all these issues or whatever, and you're not even thinking about it. Then you said you just had a hysterectomy. Sorry to hear that. Saying I don't know. I'm gonna ask you because you said it. Is it all right if I? It's gonna be a trigger warning. Is it all right if I talk about? Well, MIT Jenny, I'm gonna just say trigger warning. I'm going to say something and it might make you, I don't know if it'll make you sad or not. So I'm just putting it out there. I'll give you about 10 seconds. If you want to stay on, you can stay on. If you want to leave, you can leave. Okay. I don't want to, you're an open book. Okay. All right. Well, okay. Amen. I know you're open book, but still doesn't mean that we shouldn't make sure that we're aware of what people might feel about something, right? Even when somebody does a hysterectomy, you know that it doesn't mean that you won't have fibroid cysts. And they don't tell our sisters this at all, right? When we did the classes, there are sisters who had partial removal of stuff or partial removals of the ovaries or the fallopian tubes and things like that. But just because it's removed doesn't mean the cyst won't come back. And they don't even tell you that. So there will be women who get cysts all over again or get the same symptoms, and then you don't even go to the hospital for a while. And then 10 years after the fact or whatever, somebody says, oh, yeah, you still have fibroid cysts. You go, how can I have fibroid cysts? They were coming because of that. And the cyst didn't have anything to do with the ovaries. Matter of fact, it makes life more difficult down the road because even now, this is, I won't go too deep into this, but even one of the reasons why people can even orgasm or different things like that is due to the fact that it's not just only they touching that spot, the G spot or whatever you call it, but it's also due to the fact that you're having like movement when you're moving the pelvis and stuff. You're also moving, the ovary is moving, right? Your ovaries are moving. So like when they get rid of this, so like when they get rid of it, you'll even see things later on where sisters might start losing their sex drive as they get older. And by the way, like even when people say I'm losing my sex drive, this and that, and I'm old, like I'm gonna tell you something, and forgive me, right? This is something that older sisters and older brothers have told me. So I'm not at an age obviously yet, but people, especially if you're healthy, you don't lose your sex drive. If you lose your sex drive, it's because something's going on where your mental health or your physical health is not right. See, but if we look at the external and we listen to the doctors tell us this and that or whatever, they're telling us, oh yeah, well when you get old, it's just what's supposed to happen. No, like you're supposed to, as a man, you're supposed to be erect until the day that you pass. Why? Because that has to do with blood flow, right? That has nothing to do with you getting old. Now, as you get older, maybe it's more difficult for you to have the minerals you need, and maybe you need to get more minerals. But you're not supposed to. We even know that sin caused death. So your body was not created for death. That's why there's no such thing as really a natural cause of death. You guys know that, right? Like they never really can put officially that the cause of death was natural, right? As much as somebody might say natural cause of death, there's no such thing as a natural, like somebody's heart stopped. That's why, or somebody couldn't breathe. That's why, like, there's no such thing as a natural death because it's not in your nature to pass away. You know that, right? There's no such thing as a natural form of being unalived, right? Because it's not in your nature, right? You were designed to be eternal. Sin happened, and the only reason why the Most High allowed um, your a physical departing of from the soul and the spirit is because he knew that in case somebody sinned, you would live separate from him forever. So that's why he had to give you a glorified body again. You're going to get another body to put your soul and spirit with, but you're not designed to pass away. This is why it's painful for a lot of stuff that you have, or when you get sick. These are not things you were supposed to deal with. And so if you're not with somebody who actually, like, think about that. If I'm not even, we're talking about internal purity. If I'm not even thinking If you're going to a doctor and the doctor's not even thinking that you're not supposed to get sick, then the doctor's going to have a mindset of what? Help them through, like, even if it's not. And look, I know sometimes it's totally not done in ignorance. It's something that somebody's doing for money or this and that or whatever, right? But sometimes there are doctors that genuinely care. They're genuinely concerned for you. However, the problem is that they might be concerned, but they cannot discern properly. Why? Because they've been designed to practice medicine, not to actually cure what ails you. So since they are practitioners, they will practice on you, but they're just practicing how to practice. Like we said the other day, right? And those who are going to come for Solomon's Kung Fu Club and all that later on, the children, we invite children to come out and have a great time, right? But you're gonna see that a lot of people, we talked about this the other day, when they practice how to practice, but you can't practice how to practice. You have to practice how to fight. If you see Mike Tyson, even at the age he is now, um, you know, practicing his hitting and practicing his peekaboo style and all that, he's practicing as if he's going to take somebody's head off, because that's what he's trying to do in a fight. He's practicing like he's not going to get hit when he's doing his peekaboo style, because he's not supposed to get hit during a fight. One of the worst things when I see somebody practice and they practice like this, I immediately, even if I'm just playing around my son, if we're playing and play fighting, and he does this, I start tearing his head up. Now I don't hit him, but I might start like kind of just hitting it with my fingers lightly. But I'm letting them know. That's my way of saying, put your hands up. Just because we're playing doesn't mean that you should ever in your mind think that there's a time your hand should be down low enough that somebody can pop you in your head. I don't want you to ever get comfortable with your hands not being up, right? No matter what kind of punch. If even like some people, when they punch, they put this hand down and they punch. Well, if you put that hand down, you're open here. So your hand stays up. So even if you punch, my hand doesn't move, right? It still stays in the same position, no matter what, right? Like, because if I move it, even if I'm just like, well, I'm just practicing. I'm just practicing. I'm just gonna do this. No, like, you're never gonna throw a punch in a real fight like this unless you have one arm. So you need to have both up. And that means that sometimes when you're doing stuff, maybe you need to hit your hand and stuff. Maybe you need to hit your fist. Why? Because guess what? Like, when you're in a fight, if you haven't practiced, somebody hits you and you're not used to getting hit for the first time. After a while, you see boxers do this. They might start putting their hands down because they don't want to get hit in their hand anymore. The reality is that you need to have your hand is defense. That means it's going to get hit. So yeah, the same thing where somebody might be trying to administer medicine to you, so to speak, but they're not thinking that you're not supposed to get sick. When somebody shows up to the hospital, you're not supposed to show up, should be the mindset. I should have the mindset that you should never come back. But what do? They kind of sort of deal with you in the emergency room, and then they say, set up an appointment with your doctor. Right? All right, thank you, Irene. You have a great day. What is it? Pase? I'm not gonna say it right. Paso bonilla? That's not right. Have a great day though. I always mess that up. I don't know why I messed that up. Right? But anyway, you have to think about that, right? Like, your doctor is not thinking you shouldn't be here. What can I do to make sure that you don't come back? Right? Your doctor is thinking to themselves, what can I do to have them come back to be treated, rather than what can I do to make sure that they never come back? Right? What can I do to say, why are you here? Like why are you here, in a sense, like, not with poor bedside manner, but why are you here? Something must be extremely bad. It must be really wrong. You said you had two family members in the hospital. Pray for them. Sure, we'll try to remember when we sign off and we take our leave to lift them up, and also we'll try to see if we can send it over to Minister and I, so we can add them to the prayer list for Thursdays for tomorrow. Um, so yeah, so you have to realize these doctors, they're not even thinking, because this external thing, right? We're coming in, but if there's no natural cause for somebody to lose their life, then there also is really technically no natural cause for you ever being sick. Somebody says, well, I was born with this ailment, then that means that your parents probably were eating or doing something that wasn't righteous. There's no natural cause for sickness. But we've gotten so far away from things. See, we're not pure on the inside enough to be aware of that, to where now we think that it's natural that somebody would be sick. Now, I'm not saying because of sin everybody gets sick, but it's not natural to get sick. All right, I'm gonna say it again. Right, I just told you yesterday my wife ate some stuff and it didn't have some. It wasn't great on the inside. Like, so there was some sickness that came with it, but it's not natural. She shouldn't eat real food and get sick. So something was in the food that wasn't correct. Right, so it's not natural. It is not natural that one gets sick. That's what I'm trying to say. It is not in your nature to be sick. This is why you get very frustrated. And if you get sick for too long, you even get depressed. Or when they tell you certain sicknesses, you go into depression because you think that there's no way you can come back from these sicknesses. How you doing, Hustle? But it is not in your nature to be sick. It's not in your nature to be depressed. So when I hear somebody's depressed, first thing I have to realize is watch this. Even in the word depressed, right? Let's start getting into, we've been talking about this now. Let's start really landing this on the runway, right? As we're getting ready to get in our last hour and take our leave. If you are depressed, guess what I need to figure out? I need to figure out why you're not pressing. Even the word depressed, right? Even the word depressed is telling me that you have decelerated. You pressing on the gas, everything's fine. All of a sudden, you're depressed. Something has caused you to stop pressing. That's all we're saying. And so, what's causing you to stop pressing? We don't think about that. We go, well, depression, and I'm this and that. And look, I'm somebody who, I've told you this before. I was labeled as clinically depressed. I know what it is to not want to get up out of bed. I know what it is to not take showers. I know what it is to not care if you were going to eat. I know what it is to have to check yourself into a mental institution, or at least to the fourth floor of a hospital, right? I know what that is. I'm not here to act like we shouldn't have any care or empathy towards it. What I am going to tell you though is that, all that being said, let me say on top of that, that even though you've been like been taught that one of the things that we have started to do as society is to keep people in a depressed mode, and to tell people that because this person is depressed, we should make sure we respect it, which we should. We should make sure we know what they're going through, which we should. We should be empathetic, which we should. But then nobody, thank you for the love. But then nobody says, what is the plan to get out of this? We just say we'll medicate for it, but the medication usually is to deal with the symptoms and not the actual cause of what stopped you from pressing. No, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Appreciate it. So go to the doctor or hospital if you're in a horrific accident and need medical assistance. Yeah, of course. If you have blunt trauma or something like that, sure. And I didn't say that you shouldn't. I never even said that you shouldn't go. What I said is that a lot of people, when you go to the doctor is not concerned about making sure that you are treated. There's a difference, right? I never said you should never go to a hospital, right? That would be foolish if somebody literally has their legs swinging back and forth and it's not, the bones are totally broken. But I'm just sitting up there saying, y'all's gonna work it out. Pray. That's foolishness, right? Hear what I'm saying though. What I'm trying to tell you, the reality of what I'm saying is that we have a lot of people who get in a depressed state, or get in a sick state, or have a mental health issue, have a physical health issue, and we're more concerned about keeping them all right with symptoms rather than making sure we figure out what the symptoms are of. If you're coughing, there's something wrong. So your body is coughing. Why is your body coughing? Or why is your body sneezing? It needs to get something out, right? If you have diarrhea, why does your body have diarrhea? Your body has diarrhea because it's trying to push something out. Something's inside of it that it needs to get out of it. Matter of fact, sometimes I'll tell somebody, I'll say, hey, if you're going through something, like when people had COVID and stuff at times, a lot of times I would tell them, hey, go and find something called emergency. It's EMERNG, then dash or hyphen C. It's called emergency, and you find it at a lot of different places. Like you should be able to find it at a lot of different places. I don't know about. Well, I can say for sure you used to be able to find it at Walmart's. Maybe you can find them at CVS's. Maybe you can find them at Sam's Club or BJ's or something like that. But you would look for something called emergency. And emergency is basically a bunch of vitamin C, and you can't overdose on vitamin C. So I would tell people, take so much vitamin C, take so much emergency, or if you're just going to buy vitamin C, get the pills, whatever, right? But just take emergency. And even when you buy pills, if you're somebody that's not into pork, by the way, check to see, because a lot of the pills that you take have pork in them, believe it or not. But get as much emergency or vitamin C as you can, and just keep taking it until you start actually having diarrhea. Why? Because what that means is your body's at a point to where it's starting to just throw out everything. So the vitamin C in your body, you can't overdose on vitamin C, right? And it'll just get rid of the extra. But also, as it gets rid of the extra, it's going to get rid of whatever the body's trying to fight. right? You need to be hydrated during that time. Maybe eat a lot of fruit, or just make sure that you have a lot of water with a lot of minerals and stuff in it. But you want to make sure that you get it out. You get it out. Why? We're dealing with something that's internal. We're trying to purify what's on the inside. Internal purity. We're trying to purify what's on the inside. But a lot of people just say, "Well, I have a symptom." Well, if I have a symptom, right? So in that case, I actually want the symptom. A lot of people don't even think about that. See, everybody masks the symptom. Sometimes I want to see a symptom. So I want the symptom. I'm telling them I need a symptom of diarrhea. You need to take as much vitamin C as possible and make sure it's coming out. That's a great symptom. That's a great sign. A symptom is a sign. Somebody could be having pain in their knee. If you're having certain types of pain in your knee, I might say something like, "We'll go and stand straight up and start to lift your toes. Like, find something you can put your back against if you need to, and lift your toes up like this 10 times, kind of slow. And let's see what happens." And if it goes away, if there's no pain there, it might be because you have inflammation. Now that we're dealing with inflammation, but we know things that you can eat dealing with inflammation. We can talk about cayenne pepper as far as blood flow and also inflammation. We can talk about turmeric, which also you got to make sure you activate with black pepper, but we can send it to there, and it's going to deal with with any kind of arthritis or anything like that. We can start having that conversation. You see, but the symptom, how you doing, babe? I'm sorry, my wife is on the Honorable Mind. Please check her out on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. How you doing, Brother Anthony? Right? How you doing, the Tiki Stacks? Thanks for being part of the community. So these are things that we can do. We can see what the symptom is. There are sometimes I want to know the symptom. If I mask all the symptoms, though, how can I make sure I know how to heal you? So what happens with a lot of you say, "I have a headache." So you go and you get Tylenol. You get Tylenol, you mask the symptom. Right? You get Tylenol, you mask the symptom. You get Tylenol, you mask the symptom. That's what you do. Right? But why am I getting the headache? Am I getting the headache because I'm dehydrated? That used to be me all the time. Wasn't eating enough fruits, which have H3O2 and has actual real water in it, because a lot of the water you get is so purified that it has nothing left in it. I wasn't drinking water, period. So I got a lot of headaches. As a child, they would say I had migraines. I'd be sitting there with a migraine, laying down and everything. And then as soon as I finished feeling better, I'd go and I'd get a Coke, or I'd go and get a Pepsi. And guess what? I get another migraine. Never once thought, am I just dehydrated? Never once thought, just, am I dehydrated? You see, like something that simple. We're looking for all this external stuff when I never even thought about how to make sure I'm internally pure, the internal purity. Started having issues with my teeth and stuff like that. Somebody comes out, I watched a simple video one day, and somebody says, if you just, like, your teeth basically are the only bones that you have that are allowed to be seen, or basically the sun or outside forces can be able to get to them all the time. So basically, you want to make sure that you take care of them the way you take care of your bones. What is your calcium intake? What's your magnesium intake? What are you eating? Are you eating fruits and vegetables? They're going to help the inside of the tooth. The outside of the tooth is going to be helped by what you're eating as well. Not saying obviously you shouldn't brush your teeth and all that stuff. I'm just saying those things are there. Never had anybody tell me something that simple, like, "Oh, that makes sense. Like, my teeth are bones. How do you take care of your bones? If you take care of your bones well, you'll take care of your teeth well. If you have an infection with your bones, there's tons of things you can do for the infection. So if your teeth are doing some things, there's tons of things you can do for your infection." Didn't think about it. Right? Like, these are things that nobody really tells you, and then all of a sudden you end up getting older and it's too late, or you think it's too late, and you can still heal. Like, some of you have been told because of your age you can't be healed. But that's an external principle. That's somebody else's stuff. That's not your culture. You can be healed today. And I'm not just saying, even though it could be, look, it could be in the name of Yahshua you are healed. And if you are, praise Yah. If that's his will, be healed. I literally mean that. If that's his will for you, be healed. Right? Be healed. Right? There are also those some stuff that you can just simply start doing in your life to make sure you're eating correctly and be healed. How you doing, Monarchy? There's also some stuff in your life that you can do. There's some stuff you can start to speak over yourself. Some of you, if you would just start thinking that you could be healed, you could be healed. Some of you are always saying why you can't be healed, why you can't lose weight. I can't lose weight. I can't lose this. I can't lose. Why not? Well, you don't understand. The doctor said, and I'm just big bone and blah, blah. Why can't you? Or is the weight that you're at acceptable and you just need to become healthy with what you have? See, there's got to be an internal process to this. If I don't believe that I'm worthy of being healed, then oftentimes my body, the universe, those around me will agree with me. If I don't believe that I'm a great mother, not me personally, but for the sisters that are out there, you'll probably be right. Because watch this, if you don't agree with being a great mother, then you agree with the opposite. If you don't agree with being a great father, you agree with the opposite. Yeah, even in discipline with our thoughts. You said as you're in McDonald's drive-through. I mean, hey, and I'm not here to cause, I have no heaven or hell to put anybody in. I'm just saying, like, these are things. And watch this, you're probably there because you're like, well, I need something real fast. It's something I feel like I can get real fast. Prices are probably all right, whatever. And society, once again, is not causing you to think about, like, what do I need to do on the inside? It's not even a thought. It's not even part of the thought process. You're just doing what you think is something that's going to help you to get from point A to point B. And that's why I'm saying it's that internal purity. Like, remember we were saying earlier, somebody can have a pure intent, but still like it might take on impure things. Right? Like I can have a pure intent and still be taking on impure things. I have to watch my mouth sometimes. As great as I would say, as great as an orator I've become, and I still need to become a lot greater every day of my life. I can mess around and try to say something and say it in the wrong way around my family, and now I've hurt my family's feelings. How you doing, Sister Kimberly? Like I can mean something really pure. I could say like we need to do this, blah blah, and I say it a certain way at the time, or even say it a certain way with a certain inflection because I could be flabbergasted with something else and be talking about something else. And sure enough, now my family's feeling some kind of way, right? So that's what I was saying earlier. Like this thing of purity, we just automatically assume things are pure, but if I'm talking about pure gold, right, tempting it to make it pure gold, as we were discussing earlier, it's got to be, I've got to realize it's not the gold's fault that it was in the dirt. But if I want it to be pure gold, I have to get rid of the dirt. We said this yesterday, right? It is not your fault. It is your choice. No. 2 days ago, Monday. Monday? Yeah, Monday. Yeah, I was laying on the ground. That's right. I was tired. It is not your fault. It is your choice. It is not your fault that somebody did what they did to you when you were a child. It is your choice, though, how we're going to get to this place of being pure on the inside. There are some of you that because somebody took your chastity, and I am sorry that they did. How you doing, Melissa? I am sorry that somebody did that to you all, those of you who did that. But watch this. And so we have to recognize that. We have to empathize with that. We have to mourn with you. But the goal is what? Those that mourn shall be comforted. Remember what we talked about as we came from Matthew chapter 5, verse 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Well, even before we get there, it says, blessed are those who mourn. I believe that's Matthew 5, chapter 5, verse 4. Blessed are those who mourn, for you shall be comforted. So I want to mourn with you ultimately because I want you to feel comforted. And once again, we have a lot of people who stay in a place of mourning, and we just say, give them some medicine, let them mourn. Give them some, let them keep mourning, let them keep mourning, let them keep mourning. And at some point, your mourning should turn into joy. At some point, there should be a choice, right? You see so many people on TikTok and other platforms, YouTube, social media, whatever, and so many people are willing to keep telling you, hey, this is what this looks like. This is what ableism looks like. This is what this looks like. This is what racism looks like. This is what, and it's like all those things are real. This is what mental health issues look like. This is what it is to be depressed. This is what it is to be clinically depressed. This is what it is to be dealing with ADHD, to be dealing with ADD, to be dealing with this, and all these things. And everybody's, and look, I'm glad that there's awareness of it. However, at some point, is there a way to actually improve upon my situation? Is there a way to be cured? And you live in a society where people say, hey, respect the fact they have ADHD. And what they mean by that is, in their mind, what they mean by that is, you shall never be healed of ADHD. I don't live in that world, though. And Yehoshua doesn't want me to live in it either. He said, I have overcome the world. I have ADHD, supposedly. But when I learned that ADHD is not something that is bad, as what they were saying, if I know how to use it right, then I realized, wait a minute, that means I can speak on these videos because of what they say. Is that ADHD? Well, maybe, I guess. Look, I can play music and I can play multiple instruments and I can teach stuff and I can look at what's going on while playing the music and see where we need to be. I mean, I guess that's ADHD, but is it really, I learned, okay, let me be careful, because if I eat, and even certain things like we call ADHD, like, is it ADHD if I'm feeding my child way too much sugar? Right? If I'm feeding them way too much sugar, if they're eating a whole bunch of bread, if they're eating a whole bunch of Honey Nut Cheerios, Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes, Count Chocula cereal, Fruity Pebbles. I don't know if I said that already. I don't know all the names of these cereals anymore. Whatever, right? Frosted Mini Wheats. All this stuff I'm eating over and over and over again. All this sugar. Not even real food, by the way. Then guess what happens? When sugar levels spike up, attention levels are at a deficit. So if I'm going to do that, especially on a regular basis, then I should expect from my child to not be able to pay attention. By the way, is it ADHD when a young boy can't focus because you want him, because he's in first grade and you say he won't sit still, but his whole life before then, even including in his school experience, he was allowed to be a little boy. Now you say he has ADHD because he's not able to like act like he's an adult. Adults, you put them in cubicles and you say work this many hours and stuff, and even though the adults don't like it, they at least are like, well, I guess I have to like it, and I'm giving up enough of my childhood energy and stuff, and I guess I'll just do what you guys say. Right? But real talk, you're asking for them to do low grade clerical work. You're asking for a 6-year-old boy who's not even that mature, right? Even not as mature as his female counterpart. But you're asking for a 6-year-old boy to sit in class and just listen. And he wants to do anything but. He wants to daydream. He wants to have vision. He wants to have goals. By the way, he needs to be able to make sure that his father every once in a while is able to get to him, because the father is supposed to remind him that, hey, like, you're not ready for this. You're not a man yet, but something in him is like starting to grow and say, like, I'm supposed to be in charge of something. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm supposed to be in charge. He's sitting up there like, I don't know what this is yet. I know I'm supposed to be in charge. I don't know exactly what this is, but I'm supposed to be in charge. You said your godson was so advanced. Now he got bored and they tried to label him. Yeah. Same thing happened with me. Same thing happened with my oldest. And I had to sit there and I had to go over stuff with him for a long time. And I just realized that as long as like he got it in a way that was cool with him, like he did what he needed to do. But why wouldn't somebody be bored? You're telling them to sit at the desk all day. Like, why wouldn't they be bored? Don't you get bored when you got to go to your job? Some of y'all can't stand to go to your jobs. You're going to have to sit at the desk all day. You're going to have to stay in one place in the warehouse all day. You're going to have to stay in front of the same stove at your job all day. Like, a lot of y'all are bored too. Why would we say that a child is having deficit disorder, attention deficit disorder? Yeah, and gaining weight, all that stuff. Like, a child is supposed to be moving. Children are supposed to go outside and learn outside. Children are supposed to do activities that make them go. That's why YouTube is taking a lot of stuff that you should be is messing your children up in a lot of ways, and is getting away with it because YouTube is something that your child goes, hey, at least I can dream that I'm moving. Like they won't let me move, so at least I can think that I'm moving with this character that I'm watching on television. See, and so they become somebody who needs internal purity. Your children need to be purified. Your children need to go through a purification process. We keep talking about the adults. For real, for real, some of these children need a purification process. They see so much stuff. They hear so many things. I've said this before. I learned more about sex and I started learning about sex and sex, pornography, cursing, all this stuff. I learned more about that in school and then through cartoons than I did anywhere else. I saw so many PG-13 movies, and PG-13 back in the day was basically rated R. Like now, PG-13, they don't show this, they don't show that. Back in the day, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, PG-13, PG, rated G even. Oh, it was all them popping. Like you was gonna see some stuff, you know. When you saw the witches, and I don't even remember what that is, the witches that they did, I don't even remember the name of the movie. They had this whole thing, and they had this famous scene where all these people, I think like they were turning people into mice and stuff like that or whatever. And they had this famous scene from the 80s, I think it is. Maybe is it Witches of Waverly Place? I don't remember what it was, but they had this meeting somewhere, and all of them came together, and all of a sudden they started taking their mask off. And when I tell you like that right now, it still gives me nightmares. Like the stuff that I saw back then, I was like, whoa, what is, you know what I'm saying? You like, or I forget, I don't even know the names of these movies anymore. I haven't seen them. I don't even want to watch them as an adult. I'm being honest with you. It did that much damage to me. What is it? There was some movie where they were like, they had this whole thing where it was like there was a universe under the bed. You were scared of monsters under the bed. And so they take the guy, and so he goes under the bed and stuff, and they start showing this guy like who's underground or under the bed or whatever they are, and they're like getting rid of monsters, and they're offing monsters and stuff. And when they do, like they're like melting, and you're watching the monsters melt. There's a lot of stuff that you see back then, and that stuff was put in your head, and there's some internal cleansing. Little monsters, that's it, right? There's some internal cleansing. Yeah, I really don't like scary movies. I'm the type of person, for real, call me whatever you want, call me whatever name you want to call me. I'm the type of person really doesn't even like blood. I've seen some up close, been in the military, had to seen some. I'm the type of person though, like if you going, I haven't taken them for like decades now, but type of person, if you're gonna give me a shot, it's like you better tell me when you're gonna give me the shot, because I need to turn my head, and if not, I don't care if you're male or female, I might do something to you. Like one person tried to give me a shot one time, and she tried to give me a shot and didn't tell me. After I told her, you're gonna have to tell me when you're gonna do it. And I need to know so I can turn my head. And I almost did something. I almost like reached out and did something to her, almost, because I'm like, yo, I'm telling you, like, because it's not natural that you stab me. So I need you to know, right? So I'm that type of person. Like if I go watch a movie and I see, like I'm type of person. If I see somebody and something like this happens, all right, I won't. You get the thing, right? What I mean by that, if something like this happens, I go like this in my seat because I'm being empathetic. I'm thinking, what would I do in that situation? And then all of a sudden, like there was some movie we saw, last one I saw. A friend of the family wanted to see it, and would have never thought that this person was into scary movies and bloodshed and all that the way that they were, but they wanted to see this movie I never heard of. So my wife and I, we go out with them. I think she was still pregnant at the time, so it was even crazy. um, but we go out to see it, and there's a scene, the part of the scene where this girl is going to try and run as fast as she can to get out. They timed something or figured out that something wasn't, they had something to get out of, right? So she's running as fast as possible, and while she's running, you can't see it until she hits it, but there's, I guess, like a chicken wire or something that's really sharp, and basically when she's running, if you basically see her not get decapitated, but basically see it enter into her. And I immediately went like this. I couldn't even take it anymore. So the rest of the movie, I'm just like like down, and I'm trying to watch, but then I had to, and it was a really crazy movie. Like, it was really crazy, like just straight evil. But there's a lot of stuff that goes in there, and you got to go through some impurities. You said when you give a shot, don't even feel it. Hey, that's fine. I don't want to see it. I'm just telling you for real. I just don't want to see it. But I'm just saying, right? Like, I'm that guy. Call me whatever you want. I'm that guy, right? I don't mind admitting that, because I don't like getting shot with anything, you know. But that being said, um, that being said, I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that we got to, like, you're gonna have to be purified of. There's some stuff you're carrying you don't even think. I've done this before, right? Uh, where I've just started sending saying the lyric to a song, right? I could just start saying a lyric to a song, and I'm not even saying all these lyrics. I'm like, I'll just do a little exercise with you just to show you how much stuff is in you, and you might not even be thinking about it. You might not even be thinking about what's in you, this or that or whatever, right? But and this is stuff we carry. So I could say something to you like, when I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall, and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call. What's the next part? Like, you don't even need to. You see what I'm saying? You already got it, right? Or if I go to all the ladies in the place with, I don't even have to say that much of that one, and somebody already, you finished it, right? Um, you know, or I could say I could say something like if I said I ain't mad at you, right? You could tell me the lyrics to the song. What comes up next? See, like, we carry stuff and don't even think about it. We just go, "Oh, I'm pure, I'm pure, I'm pure." No, no, like, you have a lot of stuff in you, right? That I don't even have to work that hard. I don't have to work that hard because it's been ingrained in you. And some of us spent hours at a time listening to this stuff, even if we didn't necessarily, it wasn't something that we try to do, but it's something that we have in us, right? Said he gonna be shorty, wanna be a thug. Said he won't be, right? Like, you have this stuff in you that it just pops up. When I get that feeling, I won't. I mean, I don't have. You see what I'm saying? We have some things in us, and I'm just saying we got to go through some cleansing. I don't vote anymore, but you went through believing that you had to do. I mean, if you said the Pledge of Allegiance every day, whether you like it or not, there's some things in you, and it's going to take some time being purified. This is why fasting is extremely important. But once again, we're talking about even not just external, but internal. You fast from things that are being fed into the mind or fed into the body, so that your body can eat what's already in there and get rid of what it doesn't need and take on what it does need. So the same stuff that's going on with you now, you got to start fasting from certain things. Um, there's a singer, Bobby McFerrin. You guys know him from "Don't Worry, Be Happy," right? Bobby McFerrin, but he has a lot of stuff. He's a great singer and everything, right? And he said one of the things that he had to do is he said that he wanted to become a greater singer. So he said that he basically fasted for 2 years. He did not listen to any music that had vocals on it. Think about how hard that might even be. And obviously, you can't. If you go to a store and they're playing stuff, right? He couldn't do it 100%, but as much as he could, he said for 2 years he didn't listen to. Now he's a singer, trying to become the greatest singer, but for 2 years he did not listen to any music. He still did his warm ups. He still learned different things as far as scale exercise and stuff like that. He still worked on his own songs. He still knew songs that other people sung. He still would do gigs, but for 2 years he said he would not listen to anybody's recordings of them singing. Is it frozen screen? Is everybody's screen frozen? Okay. Sorry, we got frozen screens on TikTok apparently. Oh. All right, hopefully we got everybody back. Is everybody back? We still frozen? You're still frozen? You're back? Okay. So I was trying to say there's a singer by the name of Bobby McFerrin. Bobby McFerrin basically was a singer. Most of you know him from Don't Worry, Be Happy. And what happened with Bobby McFerrin is that, and he has a great catalog, has a lot of stuff. Matter of fact, maybe we'll just listen to some of his stuff on here or whatever. I don't know. But you guys know him mostly from Don't Worry, Be Happy. Most of you probably have no clue of anything else he's ever sung. But he's a great singer and has a lot of great exercises, and does a lot of type of singing, jazz, classical, a cappella, has sung duets with cellos, things like that, like just very well versed in musicality, and has a great musicality. And he, for 2 years, wanted to become a better singer and realized that he couldn't be the singer he wanted to be if he kept listening to everybody else. Right. So he decided, instead of listening to everybody else, he decided to just start. For 2 years, he fasted from listening to any music that had somebody else's vocals on it. For 2 years straight, he would not listen to any music that had somebody else's vocals on it. Think about how hard that is. Now, like I was saying earlier, he could have walked in the store, he could have seen something that was different, right? Um, he could have walked in the store and maybe heard something. So you can't 100% get rid of it. He could have been walking down the street and might have heard somebody's car blasting. But as far as what he could control, he tried for 2 years straight to make sure he didn't hear anybody else's singing. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let you listen to something and some of the stuff that he might be able to do, and there's even more of it, right? But this is something I listen to. My son, and my wife would probably roll their eyes because I listen to this so much. But this is something that I listen to, of his, and I'm gonna just like play the beginning of it, right? But show you like how him not listening to somebody, you can hear him doing stuff with musical instruments as far as his voice, imitating instruments that you wouldn't think that somebody would normally do. And all the stuff, even when you start hearing the stuff that sounds like, maracas, or sounds like somebody, using the claves or things like that, this is going to be coming out of him. But he didn't study, only what he heard from other singers. So when he can sing, he can do something. So I'm gonna try and see if we can get it to where you guys can hear it on YouTube as well. But give me a second, let me see. Yeah, so I'm gonna let it play, and just I will play the beginning and the end. We're about to listen to music, but hopefully you get the context. I want you to see how somebody who's just listening to straight music can actually start doing things with their voice, because they decided to stop allowing everybody externally to give them information, and him actually starting to realize that I've got these tools in me. So let me see what I have internally. And now when I go back to what's external, I'm not looking at how do other people, affect me, but I'm looking at, hey, how do I, do things in line with them, right? Oh, you said they gave him a lifetime achievement. I didn't know that. That's cool. All right, so I'm just gonna put it on. Let's listen. Make sure it's turned up. Hopefully you can hear. Obviously, there's a lot of noise outside, but hopefully you'll be able to hear. So here we go. I'm gonna just play the beginning of it. When it speeds up a little bit, I'll let it play a little bit, but then I'm gonna go. Then I'm gonna shift to the end. Okay, just to make sure too we don't get in too much trouble for playing this stuff. All right, so here we go. Let's just listen to a little bit of this. Sorry, hold on. Uh-oh. What's going on? Oh, it's trying to make me buy stuff. I don't want to buy stuff. All right. Here we go. So this is something called Spain, written by Chick Corea, a very famous piece of musical literature, and he's doing this a cappella, and just gonna listen to him and watch him go, right. And I just want you to hear the influence of somebody who's for a couple years said, I'm not going to listen to anybody's singing. I'm just going to listen to other things, and I'm going to start figuring out what can I do with what I've already been given inside. I'm going to purify. I'm going to fast for a little bit, and this is the result that he got in his work. Let's see what it sounds like. Sorry, it's so low. I'm trying as loud as I can get it. So I'm just saying this once again. Now, this you can't really see, I guess, but this is him. All the sounds and everything. This is stuff just coming out of his out of his mouth, out of his vocals. Right? He's singing. He's doing the stuff. He's doing drum parts. All this because he hasn't listened for a while of anybody telling him what he can't do. All right. I just want you to hear what he's about to go into. Okay. All right, so fast forward a little bit. We can't just listen to it straight through. We're gonna get in trouble. So all this stuff. So here we go. Sorry. So it's just an example, right? And obviously, I apologize. It wasn't as loud as probably it needed to be, but hopefully you got the gist of it. Where this is somebody who literally said, I'm going to fast away. I'm going to fast for a while, and I'm not going to listen to anything else except music. Not, would I say anything else? I'm not going to listen to vocals. I'm a singer. I'm not going to listen to vocals. I'm not going to listen to lyrics. I'm not going to listen to this. I just want to listen to what other people do, right? I just want to listen to what if I heard a musician playing. Now watch this. Now this is I'll just play a little bit of this. We just listen to a whole bunch of music. So this is somebody now. This is him now playing with the guy who actually wrote the song. Spain, right? So that, and you hear him do some things. Matter of fact, let me see if I can, so that you can see this one. Let me flip it so you can even see him doing a couple things. You can see now he's going to do a lot of things. And this is with the person who. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you, like, him doing that stuff for a little bit. It causes him to, now you hear stuff in there, but because he wasn't listening to anybody for a long time, now when he gets back in tune with somebody else, right, and he begins to play or listen or sing with somebody else. Yeah, it's Spain by Chick Corea. Yeah, most definitely. So when you hear him now doing it with Chick Corea, who wrote the song, you can hear even with that, Chick Corea is, and you even see him, he's smiling and stuff like that. And sorry for my dirty screen. I'm outside all the time. So what can I tell you? But you can see, yeah, like he's not thinking about the microphone as what a lot of singers do, because he's not only thinking about that. I'm gonna play now. This is really one. See, now we're getting into music and stuff. I promise we'll get back on track if you feel like we're off. I feel like we're learning anyways, but some people might be like, why are we doing this? I'm gonna show you one more. This is him doing Ave Maria. Right now he's gonna do, if you never, so there's two
Years ago when I was in jazz.
So there's a couple different ones, and where it's got the Ave Maria, and you know some of you know what it is or whatever, but he's gonna do Ave Maria, and he's gonna do it where the audience is gonna sing the Ave Maria part, the Ave Maria, but you're gonna hear him like he's the either the piano or the harp or the violin, right? This is because he learned how to, once again, stop doing what everybody else is doing and to actually just use his voice, right? Use his voice as his instrument. He learned how to make his voice an instrument because he stopped listening to what everybody else says. This is all you can do. And he decided to go ahead and be something different. So let's try this. Let's see if this one works. Hopefully this one's louder. Okay, here we go. Now this is all his voice. This is all his voice. All right, so you see, like, that's something that I would normally play on the piano, right? But he decided that he wanted to learn some Bach stuff. So he said the Bach stuff that they're learning on the piano and they're getting on here and they're getting on there. He said, you know, why can't I do that? Now, there people who are singers that can do that to a certain degree, yes, but he decided to start really get into that specifically and saying, I want to learn that, I want to live that, I want to grow in that, I want to do this, I want to do that, right? And so he's got to a place now to where he's able to do things because he wasn't focused only on this is what a typical singer does, or this is the only way you can sing, or this is what I consider to be a classical singer, this is what I consider to be a jazz singer. If you're going to be a jazz singer, you can't sing classical. If you're going to be a classical, you can't, like, he broke out of that, right? So he's probably one of the most slept on, I would say, singers that are out. How you doing, Everett? How you doing, Samaya? Thanks for being on. Right, but he's somebody who, if you look at it once again, he looked at, hey, I know what I can do, and I've heard enough stuff externally, but one thing I haven't developed is my internal ear. That's something that musicians talk about a lot. All right, I've learned my internal ear. So I'm not, I'm not going to sit up here ever and pretend that I can play like a Kirk Franklin or this and that or whatever. But I've opened up for Kirk Franklin before. Not me particular, but I was the person as part of the music group that was playing for him. And if I open up for him, I'm not trying to sound like him. Why? Because I don't need to sound like him, because he's him and I'm me. Right. So I've developed a lot of my life when I was playing 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day on different instruments all day. I developed a style and something that sounds like me. So when you hear me play, you might hear some influences, but you'll be like, oh, that sounds something that's just like him. Right. And it's the same thing. He said that about himself. And so that's, once again, we're focused on internal purity today. Have you purified yourself? One of the things that preachers will talk to tell you after a while is they say, whenever I preach, I would hear so and so in my preaching. I would hear my bishop in my preaching. I would hear my pastor in my preaching. I would hear Martin in my preaching, Malcolm in my preaching, Medgar in my preaching. I would hear, you hear different people. There's times where even I'll be speaking, and for whatever reason, I would hear like even a Denzel Washington in my preaching, because I guess I watched certain movies of his, especially like Malcolm X or something, where I look at that character, or I might actually think the real Malcolm X, like, and think of him. And I had to stop doing that, because also too, what'll happen is, if you're not careful, and I'm not saying with those particular names I've mentioned, I'm just saying in general, we sometimes will allow things to possess us rather than take possession of ourselves, if that makes sense, right? Um, you can be trying to do something because you know it works, but it's not your work, right? Yeah, you can always know the Prince song, even if somebody else's Prince is trying to sing it, right? If you're not careful, you can take on, or somebody else is taking you on, and so you're doing what they say do. How you doing, Sister Betty? If you're not careful, you're allowing somebody else to take you on, to possess you, right? We always talk about the demon possession, but there are many people who are possessed by other people, because there are many people who are being guided by other people, even if those people aren't even necessarily involved in their lives. Right? There are many people. There are many people who are not um, possessed in their, who have not taken possession of themselves, who don't even know who they are. Right? Have no clue as to who they are, but they continue to move on. Yeah, you become a clone. Everybody always talks about the clones, and look, I'm not here to tell you if people are or aren't being cloned, or who's exactly cloned, whatever, because I don't know. Right? I is it possible? Yes, and all that. But I'm talking about specifically in this mindset that you have to realize there are a lot of people who walk around as clones, because all they do is try to follow what they saw somebody else do. And you're not going to make it to the best version of yourself. Right? You're not going to make it to the best version of yourself if you're always trying to be somebody else. There's somebody out there who likes your style of music, even if nobody else in your family likes it. Who cares? If you be who you're called to be. There's somebody out there who likes how you speak, even if nobody else agrees with what you speak where you are now. Because if you're supposed to do something that allows people to come out of the world, then you have something that's worldwide. People that are saying this doesn't match, it's not doing well because it doesn't do well in four walls, are people that don't get it. Like there's certain places to where what I do doesn't play well in four walls. There are people who what I do is too much for them, and nobody likes it in their house. That's fine. I'm not trying to reach just your house. I'd love it if something that I do would be allowed to be able to be in your house, because the Most High is wants to be in your house and he's using me as a vessel. However, yeah, I'm not sitting up here like, oh, okay, well, one person and look, I used to be that, and we got to kind of come away from that. But I'm not the person who's like, well, oh, you know what, that one person said this, I guess I better stop speaking. And you have to get used to it. When I first started going live and somebody say something terrible, they say something about my mother, or they say something about the way I look, and even when I didn't have all the hair yet, you know, people still, they find different things to say about you. You feel the kind of way, you feel a certain kind of way, but you have to get you have to get used to protecting the kingdom in you, or the kingdom protecting what's in you, and you getting to a place where you have that internal purity. I'm not pure. I'm not doing something pure because everybody else on the outside is tempting me. I'm doing something pure because the Most High has tempted me and found that I will not fall into temptation because I'm following Him, right? And lead us not into temptation. Temptation means I've fallen for what I was tempted. The Most High allows us to be tempted, but will never allow us to fall into temptation. Yeah, you have to develop a backbone. You have to develop being tempted over time. I know people say that's a born leader, that's a born this and that. People have to be fashioned. They have to practice. They have to practice not to practice. Not they don't practice just how to practice. They practice how to fight. Or you have to be willing to go to the level of, yeah, they're gonna say something bad about me, but if what I'm doing is pure, then that means what they're talking about is dirty. Did you catch it right? If we're talking about tempting gold, purifying gold, what they're doing is right. What they're trying to do is what? What they're trying to do is dirty. If I'm supposed to be pure gold, and they're trying to tell me they don't like pure gold, that's fine. Pure gold has gone, yeah, exactly. It's gone through the furnace. It's been tempted. It's been purified. So anything you're trying to give me that's not pure gold, it's something that by mindset, by tempting, is supposed to be taken out anyways. So if you're mad at me because I won't put in something that Yah himself has taken out, then that's fine. That means that you're upset with me for being pure. See, not everybody wants pure gold. Not everybody wants pure food. Not everybody wants pure food. If everybody wanted pure food, there would be no McDonald's, right? If everybody wanted pure food, there would be no high fructose corn syrup. If everybody wanted pure food, people would just grow their own food and wouldn't pay for it at the store. If everybody wanted pure food, you wouldn't worry about preservatives being in everything. If it doesn't last that long and you can't make it yourself, you wouldn't worry about it, right? If everybody wanted pure food, then we would have pure food. The only reason why the corporations, these owners of corporations, see, and as much as I want to, as much as sometimes we can blame the corporate, you know, powers that be, it can be really easy sometimes to blame them for everything. But the only reason they have power, once again, just like something that tries to possess you, a demon spirit, whatever, a demonic spirit, the only reason why they have any power, you have to authorize them. You have to give them the authority to do so. You have to. You have to authorize it. If you do not authorize it, then it's not real. It's only as real as what you authorize it to be. That's the reality. It's only as real as you author. Money's not real. There's no gold or silver to back it up. You authorize it. Look, it's not real for me to tell you that $1 that you can have the same paper, the same cloth, and put a one on it, put a 10 on it, put 100 on it. Have one by itself, have one with 1 0, have one with 2 zeros, have three separate pieces of paper, and say that the one with 100 on it is worth more than the one with the one on it. It doesn't make sense. The only reason why is because you've agreed. Currency has to be agreed upon. That's it. And so the only one of the reasons we're carrying, and it's 11:11. If you're on babe, it's 11:11. The only reason why we have this stuff, the only reason why we see this, is why. The only reason why we see this, the only reason why we look for this, the only reason why we have this, the only reason we're thinking, yeah, babe, I saw it. Thank you. I don't know if you heard me or not. It's 11:11. So the only reason we think about these things, the only reason we worry about these things, is because that we come into agreement with something that's not even pure. It's not even. It doesn't even make sense. It's an impure thought, and nobody else is going to be responsible for clearing it up because the corporations, they go off of you, right? everybody said, since Craig Hodges and Chris Jackson, who became Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf in the 90s, were kicked out of the NBA because they wouldn't go ahead and say that America was great, and they wouldn't take a knee, or I'm sorry, they wouldn't act like it was okay for the national anthem to play. In the in the 2000s, what is it? I guess it's the 2010s. Colin Kaepernick, he says that he's going to take a knee. Everybody said he was wrong, this and that, or whatever. All of a sudden, though, Black Lives Matter movement hits. Everything's all dollars down due to COVID and all that stuff. A lot of people are tired of different things. George Floyd happens, and next thing you know, all the corporations change their stance. Why? Because they need to make money, and people aren't going to give money to these corporations anymore. All of a sudden, Nickelodeon, who can't stand this stuff, and Nickelodeon, literally the word Nickelodeon means that there is no deity, there is no God, there is no person to worship. That's what Nickelodeon, the word comes from that word, right? And all this stuff happens. But Nickelodeon is the first people to come out there and say, yeah, we should respect each other, and we should do this, and feel free to do all these things or whatever, and Black lives do matter and stuff. And they could have cared less about that before. But guess what? Your money means something. Who you are means something. You authorize it. The corporations don't make any more money past what you're willing to be enslaved in. You hear what I'm saying? Thank you, Tiki. You hear what I'm saying? These corporations will not make any more than what you're willing to be enslaved through. If you're not willing to be enslaved, they're not going to make any money. That's the reality. If you're not willing to be enslaved, oh, you heard me? Okay, thanks, babe. Cool. If you're not willing to be enslaved, they can't make money off it. It's not as simple anymore as chattel slavery in the flesh only. Now you have to be willing. If you're not willing to be taxed and you can become a non-citizen national, they can't do that. If you're willing to learn Supreme Court justice cases and make sure that you're not enslaved, they can't do it anymore, right? But it's only what you're willing to do. It's only what you're willing to go through. You can't be mad at Donald Trump for not getting taxed. And the reality is, you're not supposed to get taxed. So TikTok must be working on noise control. Oh, is it bad or something? Can you guys hear me all right? No, hopefully you can. So I'm just saying it's going to start with an internal purity, and to purify what's in ourselves. I don't really have much more today. Thank you all. I think next Wednesday I'll finally be off again. So, but thank you for joining us on this day. I appreciate it. That's all I really have. We have, once again, as a reminder for the children, we have Kung Fu Club, Solomon's Kung Fu Club. It'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern New York time on Zoom. So if you don't have the Zoom link for that, we'll make sure we send it out for you. Tonight, please be willing to support Minister Tamara at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. At tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern New York time, Minister Anais will be leading us in Thursday Rising Prayer. And then I'll be back in front of you at 8 a.m. So thank you all. We appreciate you. I'll try to reach out to those that I couldn't reach out to yesterday. I'm excited. We got word that pretty much everything is 100% a go. We still are looking for donations and things like that. July 12th, which I think is today, is the halfway point. If you need us to work with you, just please let us know. Even if you don't let us know today, just please let us know what's going on, or if you're coming, or what's operating, or whatever the case might be, and we can start making sure that we have this stuff in order and ready to go. If you do need to talk to us about donations, if something's going to change, especially when we get to a certain point, we can't really do refunds for donations. So if we need to tell you, hey, you don't have to worry about giving it until this date or this time or whatever, just let it be known. But yeah, we appreciate you for that, for the stuff coming up September 29th through October the 6th. Yeah, but that's all I have for today. Thank you again. Remember, once again, Solomon's Kung Fu Club is coming up 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time today. We thank you. We appreciate you. We honor you. We look forward to talking to you very soon. Continue to keep us in prayer, and we'll continue to do the same for you. And yeah, we thank you. We appreciate you. So I'm excited and grateful and thankful for what Yah is doing in your lives and what he's doing in ours as well. And we appreciate you. If you've never done a shout out with us, we're going to do our shout out. If you've never done with us before on TikTok, we're going to get ready to do a shout out very soon. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that, and it'll give you more information on how you can participate in things in the future. So thank you again to everybody. We appreciate you. You guys take care, and mad respect and love and energy towards everybody. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry about that. Yes, so you did. I think you did send me a text or something earlier, right? Right before. Uh, so this Saturday we should be a go for our SOC meeting for everybody, SOC meeting in general. And then we're going to start eventually try to get some of these meetings we were having just for people in their groups of the country that they're in. So we'll try and get those going ASAP. But we should have an SOC meeting for everybody this Saturday, and actually probably even do a little bit of a watch party on there as well. We kind of had one recently as well to kind of look at to make sure we had a certain announcements and certain things that were going on. So this one will probably be more for just kind of fun and a little bit of announcements. At some point we got to have a YLP 83 meeting again soon for everybody too. But this one will just be in general. So if you like the link, if you don't have it, or if you don't get an invite, just let us know. It'll be on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern New York time. All right. Thank you for the reminder, Brother Alton. Appreciate you. So thank you for being on. We all, once again give all praise and honor to the Most High. Yahweh Elohim. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thank you, everybody, for being on today. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, just that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace. To those of you who are still on with us, we're going to go ahead and do our shout out. So the shout out is pretty simple. If you're with us on TikTok still, the shout out is pretty simple. Just goes like this. Once the music